crazy times, the world just needs a hero to help cut through all the noise.
Well, now you have two.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Your Heroes of Noise. I'm one half of this dynamic duo. My name is Steve.
And I'm the other half. My name is Dan Ramirez. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to episode 145 of Heroes of Noise. I know we already said the name, but I like the name, so I say it sometimes. What's going on, Steve?
I'm very happy. I'm excited for today. I see that you're wearing the shirt, the Heroes of Noise shirt.
I am. I'm like an old rock band. You know, we just wear normal shit, but then like when it's time to perform, we throw our own gear on. So I thought I would do that. Can you see me? Am I on camera?
You were on camera and I saw the Heroes of Noise shirt.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yes.
You know what? One day we're going to do an Iron Maiden infused Heroes of Noise shirt without a copyright infringement.
Yeah. I don't want to get sued by...
Because they are on it.
Yeah. I don't want to get sued by Iron Maiden. That would just be weird.
They are on it, bro.
Hey, dude. I don't know if you know this or not. We are not alone today.
We're not alone, like Michael Jackson said?
Yeah, it's crazy because I know we've just been talking this whole time, but I feel rude because we haven't really had good inclusion so far. So may I correct that? Would that be okay?
Please.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, hey, welcome to the show again. I have a surprise for you. Perhaps you've heard this wonderful voice before. Perhaps you've met this wonderful person sometime in your life. Perhaps you were hanging with us last year. I don't know. There's a lot of perhapses going on. But nevertheless, we have somebody with us today that I just cherish. I think she's a wonderful person. I've known her for quite some time. I've got to record with her several times, and it's always a blast. So let's continue the process right now. We introduced to you Rebecca Daling from the Animated Batcast and Picard Cast. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me back. I've been looking forward to this for so long.
I am glad to have you back.
Listen.
I missed you.
Have I.
I miss talking to you guys too. I enjoyed our last episode that we recorded. I just love talk. It's so easy to talk to you guys. It really is. So I was so excited you asked me back.
And that was cool. Thank you for participating in that, by the way. For the people that don't know what she's talking about, on our Patreon page or our Patreon feed, we actually tried something where we're using this Riverside FM, and we were able to allow listeners to jump into the show. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. It's on the Patreon episode if you want to check it out, but we will be doing more of that in the future. And now I'll go ahead and carry on. Sorry, just want to do the little quick housekeeping shit real quick. So what's up?
I love the plugs.
I know. And I don't get paid for shit either.
What's going on? How are you surviving, Rebecca, in this wonderful zombie apocalypse?
Well, these are the end times, but I think it's the end of the world as we know it, but I feel fine, as REM said. So
look at that.
I'm all right. What can I say? I mean, we're still, as everybody knows, we're all still in some kind of pandemic lockdown, one form or another. And I'm in New York, so we just got dumped with 1.5 feet of snow last weekend. Yeah, we got a big nor'easter, and we're supposedly getting another storm this weekend. I mean, it's winter, so I really can't complain that much about it because, it's winter. And here in New York, we do get the snow every once in a while. So, yeah, it's cold, it's snowy, and I still have not gotten my vaccine. Just waiting patiently. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a time frame?
So right now, as far as like New York guidelines are, and I don't know if they're nationwide, I would assume every state has their own. I fall into category 1C, which it means I work for a medical professional, but I'm not on the front lines. So I do technically qualify right now to get my vaccine. The issue would be there are no vaccines to give me because there's like no appointments available, and they're prioritizing, as they should, the elderly and the sickly, which I am happy to wait if it means that, somebody's grandmother gets the vaccine before me. I'm completely fine with that. So I'm just sort of waiting. I mean, as soon as I can get an appointment, you better believe I'll be rolling up the sleeve and getting my vaccines. Because I just, I would love to go visit my mother at some point, this year. So, she got her first dose, just a few days ago, actually. So,
good.
I'm happy for her that she got it. So, yeah, just waiting to get mine. Other than that, just, trying to be careful and wear my mask and do all the things you're supposed to do to stay healthy and keep other people healthy as well.
Absolutely. And now, are you doing the double mask?
Not yet, but I
Yeah.
keep seeing that that's like the new guideline from the CDC, I think. Listen, I do what Dr. Fauci tells me to do.
That's it.
I'm not going to
Yep.
lie. I mean,
That's
you can
it.
call me a sheeple if you want. I don't fucking care. I do what Dr. Fauci recommends because this man has devoted his entire life to the study of viruses. And
Yes.
I don't know. I guess I could watch a YouTube video and pretend I'm an expert too, but instead I'm going to listen to Dr. Fauci. So if Dr. Fauci says you really should be wearing a double mask, then guess what? I'm going to do a double mask. Because again, I always feel like if doing that will help, if doing that will keep somebody's mom, father,
Yes.
grandparent,
Yes.
uncle, child, whatever, safe, it is literally the least I can do. So,
True.
I mean, I can't develop a cure for this thing. But if wearing a double mask means it might protect somebody else, I'm not a fucking sociopath. Of course I'm going to do something
Yes.
to help my neighbor. So,
Yes.
I don't know. It never ceases to amaze me that some people just can't wrap their head around that. Why would I go out of my way to do something to help another person? Oh, sorry that empathy is a foreign concept to you, but I don't know. It just seems like a no-brainer.
Well, it's easy, Rebecca. You see, you're taking away their freedom, is what it is.
They took my freedom away. They took their jobs. Sorry,
They
that's
took your job. I got you. I'm with you.
South Park
See,
reference.
I have the person in my brain right now.
Oh, we all have a person in our brain right now. Don't even front. We know you do.
Yeah, this is this not only the last 4 years, but this season of the zombie apocalypse has shown me that it's just 40% of America are insane. That's what it is. I'm like, okay, I have to go forward in life knowing that.
Yes.
It'd be like, because there's no like, hey, why don't you talk to them? No, because it's not a disagreement. There are some people that are just lunatics. So I just like, you know what? If I can do my part to save lives, I'll do it. Because I know that there's some people that just aren't going to. There's elderly that are walking around amongst people who do not care or do not believe in science. That is so scary.
Yeah.
We've got this guy in town. I forget his name, and I wouldn't say his name anyway, but he's like the local, I'll use the word loosely, the local terrorist, because he's been going to like the Trader Joe's and protesting.
I did not know this. I haven't heard of this.
Is he that guy who's showing up without a mask and making people's jobs harder?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Now, is that
my
national news, or are you
God.
just like putting a label on a guy?
No,
'Cause-
but as soon as you said that he was going to the local Walmarts, I knew exactly what he was doing. I don't understand. If you have an issue, right, with a store's policy, like a store like Walmart, which is a national chain, if you have an issue with Walmart's policies, do not take it up with fucking Brad at the front door,
Exactly.
who's barely making minimum wage and probably has 2 other jobs to go to fucking feed his family. Don't take it up with him. Write a fucking letter to Walmart, Karen, and get
There
it out
it
of your
is.
system.
There it
Don't
is.
take it
Exactly.
out on the guy at the front door. It is so above his pay grade that to enforce that policy. Why are we going to make this guy's life difficult? Why?
And
Why?
here's the funny part. A lot of these dudes, especially the dudes, if you got on a basketball court and I called a foul, they'd be like, all right, yeah, I got you. So those rules they're willing to follow.
Mhm, mhm.
Those are rules. Well, no, that's not impinging on my freedom now. I'm like, then why can you just take a foul and be like, all right, yep, here's the ball back? Why are you that guy? But then out in the normal world, you're a Luke. It's good to know that some of these people that I've been just chilling and playing ball with are just lunatics. And I'm like, we're just not friends anymore.
By the way, I
we
think
can
that
still
40
be disagree. Huh?
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think that 40% is probably a little low. That's a low figure, I think. I think there's way more.
Oh, dude, there's a lot. And I've just deleted them. And as in like, can't we just disagree? No, I don't need you in my life. And it's good. It's good. I don't need you in my life.
It's
because
good to weed these people out of your life now.
Exactly.
Weed
Yeah.
them out quickly because
Right.
I don't need that kind of. I'll be honest, after, even before and some people know this, I don't mind to say this on the podcast. Last year in September, my father passed away from COVID.
So
and
sorry.
thank you. And even before that happened, even before my dad got sick, like, I mean, anybody who was calling it a hoax, I already had my eye on them to be like, you so close to getting unfollowed, you so close. And then even after, and people knew that, like, my dad had passed away, and I would still see people that I knew, that people in my life knew what I had already gone through, to have the nerve to get up on Facebook and say whatever they're going to say about the virus. I would get so, I could feel myself turning into the Hulk. Like, I mean, Bruce Banner had nothing on me. I could have taken on the Hulk and Thanos and Galactus and Darkseid and everybody. I was so angry. I just, you know what? Unfriend everybody. Just unfriend. I don't need that in my life.
Exactly.
I already have my own pain to deal with. I don't need somebody coming along and pouring salt in it. I don't need that in my life. So the unfollow, the unfriend, and the block buttons should be your best friends. They really should be. And just sculpt your social media experience to fit your needs.
Exactly. When people are just like, oh, can you look at what came up on my Twitter? I'm like, well, that's your fault.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
You have not catered your Twitter. Now that the election's over, just have it the way you want. Have, like, puppies and kitty cats and Freddie Mercury be coming up on your.
You're
just
right,
have
man.
that.
Here's the thing. It's like, I'm that guy that I'm exactly who you're talking about, right? But I'm also trying to be the guy that's like, well, maybe there's still some good quality left. Maybe they'll see. But there's some people that were talking about lizard people and Illuminati. Like, that shit I can't deal with, right? I'm sorry. Not kidding about it, not laughing like, oh, it's the quote fingers, it's the lizard people, and the quote fingers, it's the Illuminati and Pizzagate. No, full on into that shit.
Yeah.
And that's where I just absolutely have to do the cut. That's an easy one.
But here's the funny part. When I was deep in the church, the lizard people that you consider crazy, for us, it was the people that didn't believe. You were lizard people. You were insane and totally out of this world to us.
Yeah, heathens.
Like, how don't you guys see it? We got to cut them off. Or we need to explain to them, here's why you're so wrong. And I'm just like, wow.
But they weren't saying lizard people. I'm talking.
They were saying that you will burn forever.
It's pretty much the same. But when people are talking about actual reptilian people running the government, it's fucking insane to me. So yeah, those are the easy ones. But here's the thing. It's the ones that I've had history with, or maybe have gone on trips with in the past, where none of this ever came up because it never really needed to, because the world didn't fucking flip on its ear before. We've done family things together. We've helped each other out. We've helped with moves and things like that. People coming over for barbecues, birthday parties and shit like that. And it was just like overnight, it just like snapped and it was a completely different person. I'm still having trouble getting rid of some of those. And I think that it's more on my end. But what it is that if you don't do that, you're just going to continuously stay pissed, like you're saying, because I see these crazy things and sometimes I'll hide them and unfollow them, and I'll still go and look. And then I'm like pissed off again. So I think it's probably best just to block them. But it just seems so harsh to me. And I don't know why.
I get that. I totally understand. And to be honest, I was the same way too. I would just unfollow, but then curiosity would get the better of me. And I'd go and I'd peek at their page and I'd be like, oh, you still on this bullshit?
You still crazy motherfucker.
You still crazy? Yep. Oh my God.
Yep. Yeah. I that's why I'm trying to cater. I catered my social media to my liking. So it's just like, yeah, I have a circle now. I have a circle that I like to hear. That's just life. And if people are like, well, you didn't hear the other side, I don't need to. I'm good. I'm straight. I got my cool little people that I interact with on Twitter and Facebook. Facebook is becoming less and less tenable for me. Like, I'm rarely on at this point. It's just becoming ridiculous.
Yeah, I can tell you're never there. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be either if it wasn't for this show. That's the only thing keeping me on, is this show. I love our little home where we are, where we can talk to the people that we want to talk to. But my personal page, I don't even trip on it anymore, man. Sometimes, like, I've made it a point to, like, be happier these days because I was going off quite a bit, particularly towards the end of this tortuous 2020. But it's been nice because now I'm like, hey, WandaVision, or hey, watch this movie. And I think people are kind of bugging on it, like, oh, look at this fucking guy just calm down all of a sudden.
This guy in WandaVision.
This guy getting what he wants over here, all happy. Oh, what'd you say? WandaVision? No, Steve, stop it. Stop it.
Are you guys are you guys watching WandaVision week to week?
Fucking A.
Yeah.
I'm not.
He's not. Rebecca.
You don't like it, Steve?
No.
He's
Okay.
not even giving it a... No, here's the deal.
Did you watch a episode?
I saw a little conversation the other day where it's like, it's all subjective. You know what I mean? And comedy or whatever, fiction, it's all subjective. But you're not even giving it a chance, and that's the thing. You're like, nah.
Here's what I did. I watched the first episode. I'm like, got it. And then I watched half of the next one. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
Dude, I'll just tell you this. You watch what you want to watch, but it has gotten so fucking good over the last 2 episodes. And what's today? Today is Wednesday. Oh, we have one more day.
I know.
I'll get off of work at midnight tomorrow, and I'm going to go home and watch it. Dude, I cannot stop watching this shit. It is incredible. I think it's my favorite thing on television.
You know what I would say, Steve, is I'm a huge MCU fan. You guys know that.
Yes.
I love everything MCU. I mean, with some exceptions, there are certain movies that I don't think I think are misses. But overall, love the MCU. I am enjoying WandaVision very much. I will be honest though, that first episode, I am glad that they dropped 2 at the same time, because if they had just dropped that one, I think I would have been left feeling a little unsatisfied.
Sure.
That's my own personal opinion. Watching the 2 together, I felt like that was a nice opening to me to the show. And then as each one has gone along up until episode 4, and I'm not giving anything away by saying this, is a heavy exposition episode. So, I mean, obviously, if you don't want to go back to it, Steve, I'm not gonna twist your arm. But like, if you wanted to watch maybe the first 4 episodes and then kind of get that explanation, and then if you feel like, yeah, okay, now I see what's happening, but it, that might be sort of your gateway back into it. But otherwise, you know what? Don't watch it if you don't like it. You got other things to do with your time, of course, like that. And you should enjoy what you watch. Shouldn't feel like homework.
Absolutely.
Or anything.
Well, I was going to watch it when it all drops.
Oh, you see that?
Like,
there you go.
Bulk watch it. Because Fob Roris hit me up, and Fob Roris never hits me up like about shows except for like Servant. And he was like, look, dude, about WandaVision. And he really like broke it down. He said, look, man, they're going somewhere. I know it's not what Marvel normally does, but I promise you they're going somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna, when it all drops, I'm just gonna watch it because I don't want to be A, out of the conversation, and B, Marvel has never done anything. Even Dan knows that I liked what was that?
Legends.
Age of Ultron. I liked that. And so Marvel can't really do wrong by me. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to watch it because I know it's at least going to have one scene that makes it all worth it for me. Even if it's just one thing, I'll be like, now that was dope. That was incredible.
There'll be more than one scene, I promise you. But I think Rebecca's right. Like the decision that you made, now would be the good time to make it. Unless you just watch all the way through. But I think that if you got to 4, you would clearly see that there's a bigger picture going on. And you're going to be like, okay, now I'm intrigued.
And you know what's funny? This is probably the Marvel property that I've heard the least about. Normally, you can't even avoid it.
I would say that's on you only because it's everywhere. I can't avoid it. And I'm not even looking for it.
I can't. Like on my Twitter feed, the people that normally talk about everything are talking about other things. And you know what, though? It's also because there's so much online media due to the zombie apocalypse. There are a million movies, a million things to watch. It's not like one thing's happening. There's a trillion things happening, let alone Sundance. So it's just like, I mean, that thing is taking over too. And then everything's coming up on HBO Max that's killing it. And so that might be the thing. There's just a million things out.
You know what's coming to, or I think it's available now on HBO Max, is a show called Babylon 5.
I heard of, I saw that.
So here's my non-history with Babylon 5. Babylon 5 came out when I was watching Star Trek live week to week, right? And
nice.
I was like, it was like the teenager-ish era. So I was watching Star Trek week to week. I've always been a huge Star Trek fan since I was a kid. So this new show comes on, and I looked at it and I said, this looks like a Star Trek knockoff. And I watched one episode, and again, I was young, and I was like, nah, this sucks. I'm going back to Star Trek. And I never watched not one episode beyond that of Babylon 5, and this is going back more than 20 years. So now, much later in my life, I'm more mature now, and I see a lot of my my Trek friends who talk about Babylon 5 and how much they liked it. And I said, oh man, I should give that show a chance. I never watched it. I totally prejudged it and didn't give it a shot, but it wasn't streaming anywhere. And then fast forward, maybe about 6 months, and I'm reading, oh, HBO Max has got all of Babylon 5. And I'm like, well, there's my weekend sorted for the next couple of weeks. I could just watch all of Babylon 5. And I'm actually excited to jump into that universe, that world, and kind of give it a fair shot, because I didn't really give it one. But yeah, I'm excited to see what the hype is all about.
And it's funny you should say that, because I jumped on something that only because you were coming on the show.
Oh, what's that?
Because everyone hypes it up. They're like, hey, no, as a matter of fact, someone else DM'd me too. So I was like, it's funny you should say that, because I'm watching it because Rebecca's coming on. They're like, have you checked out the DC animated on HBO Max?
Oh.
And I said, I've never watched a DC animated film in my life. So I said, which one am I going to start on? I went on Reddit. Of course, the geniuses of that. So I go on Reddit, and they said, hey, check out Doom and Flashpoint.
Flashpoint's good. I have not seen Doom.
Dude, I turn on Flashpoint. Within 5 minutes, I'm in. I am so in that I was almost late to work.
Oh, wow.
I was almost late to work because I did not want to turn it off and continue it at work. That was amazing. And then Doom was just, I was like, oh, I'm in. I'm going to do these animated. I'm going to get through all the, and then I'm going to start. I watched also Behind the Red Hood.
Oh, great choice.
Fantastic stuff they have. More people should talk about that.
Let me tell you something. The DC animated universe is, leaps and bounds beyond Marvel's animated universe. Marvel's animated universe it's shit. It is not good at all. But DC animated movies overall are excellent. They're better than their live action films. I was going to ask
you if you thought that.
Listen, I will stand by that first Wonder Woman movie for me was just, chef's kiss perfect.
I loved it. Yeah.
I say perfect. I know it's not perfect. That third act, the graphics aren't great. I'm not blind to it, but for what I wanted in a Wonder Woman origin story, they gave it to me, and I loved it, and I thought Gal was great in the role.
Agreed.
I thought Shazam was a whole lot of fun. I thought it was
that was great.
Fun movie. I thought Aquaman was a decent film. I know you guys feel very differently about Aquaman. I thought it was an okay movie when I expected a dumpster fire movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I walked into that theater going, this thing is going to suck ass. And I walked out and I went, you know what? That wasn't that bad. That was my...
Okay.
So for me, it was like, hey... That wasn't terrible.
It didn't suck terribly. Okay.
Man, I was so, and I know you were too, Steve. We were so excited about watching
were
that movie.
I know
we had our tickets. We were going to go.
Remember.
Yeah, we were going to go before everyone else saw it, and it was going to be this big thing. And
there's a point where Dan and I looked at each other in the movie, and we're like, oh boy.
Now,
what was great is that it was literally the same time. There was no, hey, look at me. We literally, I don't know what it was, what scene it was, but we both turned and looked like, are you seeing what I'm seeing right now? I'm sorry, Rebecca, what were you saying?
I will say that the soundtrack is shit.
Oh.
The soundtrack is terrible. I don't know who made those choices, but
Pitbull in Africa.
Atrocious. They were. No. That was, we don't talk about that anymore. It was terrible. It was just terrible. But the other DC films, the live action films, I think overall have been a bit of a disappointment. And I'm being very generous when I say a bit of a disappointment. I thought, I still like Man of Steel. I still like that movie for what it is.
I really liked that movie. I really liked it.
Yeah. Listen, nobody can touch Christopher Reeve as far as I'm concerned.
Nope, not a person. He was a man-child. He was a man-child.
He was. That was the first comic book movie I ever saw was Superman the movie, And from that moment on, I was in love. I was in
Perfect.
love.
Perfect. If I go to Niagara Falls, I'm only thinking about one thing.
100%.
One thing.
100%. If I ever make it to the Eiffel Tower, I'm only thinking about one thing. How
That's
Lois
true.
Lane climbed the fucking Eiffel Tower and she almost died. Like, that to me, my first comic book movie, nobody can touch Christopher Reeve's performance as far as I'm concerned. That's just me. But then again, I grew up in that generation. You guys grew up in that generation. There are people coming up that for them, Henry Cavill is their Superman.
He's a great pick.
And
he's a great pick.
He is a great pick. I still enjoy Man of Steel for what it is. I feel like after that, things start to go downhill. And I really think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that you don't have a Kevin Feige in the DC camp. If you have a Kevin Feige person in that camp who rolls out a big whiteboard and says, here's our universe, I think your movies can do better. But I think making Man of Steel and then telling Zack Snyder, oh, by the way, it performed so well that now this is our universe. I don't think that's fair to him as a filmmaker. And I don't think that's fair to the fans. Because you make a movie like Justice League, and you're telling me that a movie that's got Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman on the same screen at the same time, and that movie doesn't make $1 billion?
Yes, crazy. It's crazy.
You need to turn to Jesus at that point and go, where have I failed you, oh Lord? Like, you need to really, I'm sorry if that was irreverent. I'm just.
No, it was not.
You know what I mean? But it's just a moment where you need to go, we fucked up, because these characters are beloved. They predate Marvel characters. So how are you telling me that you don't have the big three of DC on the screen and you don't make $1 billion?
Designed to print money.
100%.
But here's the thing. What is it? I personally think it's script. Because, the aesthetics were cool. I always thought that they kind of cheapened out when it came to the CGI and stuff like that. But I can work with that. I just think the scripts fall flat almost every time. I really think that's what it is.
And I also think you need to surprise people. The reason that, because my Bruce Wayne is Michael Keaton. That's who is always going to be Bruce 100%,
Wayne. 100%, yeah.
And I think the reason it was so dope was because it threw a curveball. We didn't expect Michael Keaton to be Batman, and it was just like, then Jack Nicholson to be the Joker. And I think you have to surprise someone where it's like, okay, Ben Affleck, Batman. There is no surprise anymore because so many people have been Batman now. There's too many Batmen, so you're just like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. But there was no like, oh, I wonder what he's going to do. No, he was just Ben Affleck as Batman. No shock. And as much as I love the first Wonder Woman, I always to this day think Gwendolyn Christie should have been Wonder Woman. I thought when I saw her on Game of Thrones, I thought that is Wonder Woman. That woman with the thing on her head, if she walks by someone, she is an Amazonian.
She has the look of an Amazonian woman.
Absolutely.
Tall. Yeah, I really think you're right about that.
The way she wielded the sword, and people would say, she's strong, but then when she turns out to be stronger than you thought, you're like, Jesus. What are we going to do with this woman?
I do not hate that choice at all. Like, I love Gal Gadot in the role, but I love Gwendolyn Christie. Like,
I love her.
I don't know. I am a straight woman. But I might, more than might. I probably would, because she's amazing. I actually fan casted her for Red Sonja. If they ever make a Red Sonja movie.
That would be great.
That's almost better, Rebecca.
Stick her in a red wig and put that woman in some cool armor and let her chop dudes' heads off.
Oh, that would be great.
Take all my money. I'll watch that movie.
And it also helps that she can act her ass off, too.
She can act. And yeah, she is... oh my God. And the way that they did her wrong in that last season of Game of Thrones.
Oh, jeez.
I know we're all over the place, and I'm sorry, but
no, that's fine. Welcome to Heroes of
I
Millions.
know. I think I have a big part in this. This is just how I am all the time. Just whatever. The way they did my girl wrong,
Jesus,
in that last season of Game of Thrones with that fucking cocksucker Jaime. Uses her, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna go back to my sister who I like to fuck. What is the? And then they have her there cry. No, please don't leave me. No,
that is not
my girl. That is not her. I can understand her crying or being upset. I mean, I've had guys leave me, and I felt that, oh my God, please don't leave me, or what am I going to do now? But after everything she had been through,
Yeah.
and
Totally watered her down.
I hated that so
It was so
much.
bad. I remember the last episode. I said, if the credits roll right now, I am going to throw my TV out the window. Sure enough, it just him rolling galloping off into the, I said, oh no, they did not. They did not do this. And everything, it's almost as if they said, what would make everyone the most angry? And then they did it the whole season.
Well, you know what the problem with this is that you've got those two guys, whatever the fuck their names are, D&D, everybody calls them that, writing Game of Thrones.
Lindelof and...
No.
Oh my God.
No, it was...
Block them out.
It wasn't
I blocked him out
Lindelof.
after
It
the
wasn't
last
Lindelof.
season.
What was his name? Not Damon. What's his name?
Well, okay, the two guys who wrote
Yes,
the Game
yes.
of Thrones.
Those dudes.
Go on it.
You know who they are. Somebody look it up on Google.
D&D.
while you
Yeah,
listen
that's
to
what I'm
this.
gonna do.
I got it. I got it.
So, you have a writing room that is full of straight white dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I shouldn't say that. I don't know if there were any LGBTQ people in that room. I'm just assuming that there were straight white dudes only in that room. But there were no women on that writing staff. I don't think there were any people of color on that writing staff. And how are you going to tell me that you're going to kill off all the people of color in that show in terrible, violent ways? And where are the female voices in that show? They're reduced to just, crying, and I don't know. I liked a lot of Game of Thrones. I liked a lot of it, but that last season, I think it just really suffered from them trying to churn out a bunch of episodes in a short period of time. And I mean, how many episodes were there where there were like Starbucks cups in the shot?
Yeah.
Or Polar
how does
Spring
that get
bottles?
past?
They just stopped giving a fuck.
They
Let's
just
be
they're like,
stopped
whatever.
caring. And then you go back and you watch episodes like The Red Wedding or Battle of the Bastards,
Oh
and you just
my
think
God,
of how
dude.
much care they put into those scenes. How many seasons did they spend making me love Robb Stark only to kill him? Oh my gosh. And then it's that last season was just such a...
It was crap.
It was
David
crap.
Benioff and DB Weiss. is
There
what we're
you
talking about.
go.
It
There
was,
you go.
and here's the hard part. It made me care about the killing of a dragon when it got
Oh, Jesus.
harpoon, or no, when the what was his name? The White Walker,
The Night King.
there we go. That dude, when he took out his javelin, I stood up in my living room and said, "Please, God, no. Please, God, no." And it was so devastating. I was like, "Oh, this show is the best. I love it." And then they literally just say, "Okay, let's just totally reduce it now and make it a terrible end." Because when it ends terribly, it affects the whole experience.
Sure.
The whole experience is jacked
It
up.
definitely does, because then you think like, oh, I should go back and rewatch Game of Thrones. And then you go, oh, but that last season.
Exactly.
And then you're like, I don't know.
Now there were moments like when Homegirl killed the Night King, I was like, that was dope.
Seriously though, I know it was a sad moment, but how big of a G move was that when the Night King killed that dragon?
Listen, that's when I knew.
was, though, yeah.
He didn't break a sweat or his face didn't change. He just kind of looked up.
No, he looked up as if, oh yeah, I'd be killing dragons on after breakfast.
Yeah.
Like he was talking. So anyway, I was talking to this dude, right? Give me that pole real quick. And dude was like, he was crazy, right? And he just throws the javelin. And so he was talking janky. And it was like a nothing to him. I was like, wow.
Anyway, what was that?
Exactly.
Hey, let's go grab a coffee, but let me just kill this dragon real quick.
Exactly.
So you want Starbucks
No.
or Dunkin' Donuts?
Make sure to leave the cup in the shot. You want everybody.
I guess they went to Starbucks.
That. The fact that made it past editors is, I think one of the editors were like, let's just leave it in. Let's screw it. Who cares?
Can you imagine? Oh my God.
Yeah, they're like, whatever.
They were like, fuck it.
We give Game of Thrones a lot of shit for that particular thing with the cup. But you know what? Let's face it, man. Mandalorian got a huge pass. Yeah, we joked for a couple of days. But the guy in the t-shirt that's just chilling in the background.
Yeah.
Everyone celebrated that shit. We loved him. He was just a stormtrooper on his day off or whatever. But yeah, we
But
really
you know what? I think it's
beat the shit out of Game of Thrones.
I think it's because Mandalorian was more universally loved.
Yeah, well, that's
be
the thing too. It's like,
honest.
and that season, Game of Thrones is already pissing us off. It's like, and you're going to do
Sure.
this too? Yeah, that makes sense.
No.
And that's another reason. I think I'm so used to being the Mandalorian immediate. Like, how quick did I like that show, Dan?
Well, for me to recommend it to you hardcore, and you know how you are. I mean, I'm saying like WandaVision. Let's just kind of go that way. You were not dismissive whatsoever with it.
Not a.
You just got real
me
quiet for a little length of time until you finished watching it, and then you just started doing high praise.
Incredible. That's why when I started, I said, "Oh, this is a thing that they do," and I think that added to my disappointment. That's probably what also added to my disappointment, was because I'm so used to them getting me from jump. They're like, "Oh, you don't even know what I did not know what a Mandalorian was. I had never heard the word before. I did not know a thing called that." And yet, as soon as I start watching, they're like, "Oh, but you'll get it. You'll get it. Trust me." And you got it.
This is why I love when you watch Star Wars and do reviews, because they're the only reviews of Star Wars that are like this on the fucking planet. You know, because most people, they take it so seriously. Rebecca, you know what I'm talking about. And they will break it down, you know, to the atom. They will break this shit down. And if you say things wrong, they get a little pissed off. Star Wars fans are very much like that. But I love the Steve Hudson interview because people like Darth Maul or somebody just become homeboy. And homeboy,
I don't know what their name.
And that's great though. I love it because you won't get another Star Wars review like that except for Heroes of Noise. Courtesy of Steve Hudson.
I just love, dude. It was just everything. I think it's also because I didn't know I didn't know who was who. And so when I saw them do their thing, it was just like, oh, this person could do that thing. This is crazy. I loved it, man. And that's why that's what I expect from them now. I expect it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when I don't get that.
Yeah, I was, to be honest, when they even announced The Mandalorian, I was just like, is this a Boba Fett show? Because I don't fucking care about Boba Fett. I know. Don't at me, Star Wars fans. I don't fucking care that you, oh my God, but Boba Fett, I don't fucking care what your connection with Boba Fett. The dude had 3 lines in
Fuck
in
you
all
and
the
Boba
movies.
Fett.
Yeah. The dude had 3 lines in the movies, and one of them was, ah!
As he crashed into a side of a barge.
Yeah, as he fell down into the toothy vagina in the sand. Like I never found Boba Fett to be a cool character. I'm sorry, I just didn't. So when the Mandalorian was announced, I was like, oh, is this like a Boba Fett show? What the fuck do I care about Boba Fett? And then people were like, no, it's not that. It's about like the Mandalorians and the Mandalore, and I knew nothing about it because I'm not that deep into Star Wars. So I relied on like other pop culture podcast to like educate me about Mandalore and the Mandalorian. So, all right, okay, maybe I give this show a shot. I watched the first episode, and then the second I saw Baby Yoda, I was like, done. I'm in. I'm watching this whole goddamn show. Whatever happens, I don't care. I gotta find out about this baby. I gotta find out about the baby.
Listen, and it's funny because Dan and I were talking, and he knew. I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone who has not watched it. There's a person in the last episode who I didn't know who the person was until they revealed themselves. And Dan was like, oh, as soon as I saw I knew exactly who it was. I did not. And that made it even better for me only because I was like, whoever this is, dude can fight legit or she can fight legit. And so when he took off, when she or he revealed themselves, I was like, oh, snap. It was just amazing.
That's how I know I have a little bit of asshole Star Wars fan in me, because I remember having this conversation with you and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's fucking, so-and-so, all snobby. And then I'm kind of jealous of that though, because like I said, you're seeing this with no offense, of course, it's like a child's eyes. You're seeing all these things for the first time, kind of. And I think that's awesome because I'm so jaded as it is a Star Wars fan. And some of it I love and some of it I hate. Some of it I loved, then I hated. And I get so passionate about that shit, but it's really cool to talk to you about those things, even though it's not going to be where like all the Star Wars fans come to get their information. I love your reviews, dude. I love you hearing you watch this shit and tell me about it in your version.
Dude. It's so much fun. I'm about to take the biggest left turn, if that's okay with you guys.
Let's turn.
Yeah.
This is a massive left turn, but we were just talking about him. So, Rebecca, have you seen Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Yes, I have.
Are we getting another one considering recent events?
Wait a minute.
Army Hammer.
Events. Oh, Armie Hammer was in that movie. I totally forgot. I mean, I guess if he doesn't eat up his co-stars, sure. I'm
Jeez,
sorry.
I know.
That
I loved that movie.
What the fuck is wrong with that dude? Like, seriously. What the fuck is wrong with Armie
I don't know
Hammer?
what he was thinking. He just totally gave up I'm just going to give up the bag. All this, I'm going to give it up. And I mean, like, Man from U.N.C.L.E. was on its way.
It was.
The second one was on its way.
Can I be completely honest here? And please feel free to judge me, because that's fine. I will accept the judgment. I watched Man from U.N.C.L.E. mostly because Henry Cavill's pants were a little bit tight. And he has a really nice ass. I'm sorry. You can judge me.
That's not a bad thing.
You know, I ain't gonna lie. He does have a nice ass.
He does, right?
Is it America's, though?
It's...
listen, listen. My heart belongs to Chris Evans.
That's crazy talk, Steve.
That's crazy talk. No, but I enjoy a Henry Cavill bottom shot. I do. I enjoy it.
He can wear a suit.
He can
wear, and that's when I looked and I said, I want more of this guy in this sounds weird. I want more of this character reflected in Clark Kent. Because I saw it. Mm-hmm. I said, he's so smooth, less 007, but I would like to see that reflected more in Clark Kent. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, this guy's a star. And they still haven't made Henry Cavill the massive star. Even after handling business in Mission Impossible, he's not the star he should be, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. He should be human because he just has the look.
Well, you would think that Superman was this thing that, I mean, it did. It put him on our maps, but because of the scripting and everything else, and like we're saying, well, it's probably one of the best DC movies, but it's not like, dude, fucking Man of Steel. This is the movie that made him. He hasn't had that yet. You're right.
No. And it's sad because he has, I mean, even
he may not ever, Steve.
Here's the thing. When I watched Mission Impossible, I had to consider the other person who was on screen. That dude soaks up screen time.
What's his name?
Thomas Cruise Monte. But that dude is Tom Cruise is a superstar. He's a superstar too. So if you're on the screen with him, you're not going to get noticed much because he just soaks up screen time. And I was like, well, maybe that's why. But then watch Man from U.N.C.L.E. I said, this should make him a star. You know, from Man from U.N.C.L.E. to Mission Impossible, and it still doesn't happen. I was like, well, maybe, I don't know then. Because he has the look. He has everything going for him. I don't know. He's like Taylor Kitsch. They're both like, they can't quite get the feet running underneath them. Yeah. Even though they both have legendary, even Taylor Kitsch more than Henry Cavill. He has, he has Riggins. He was Riggins. That should have been the blast off point. And it just never happened.
You are so championing him.
Dude, Taylor Kitsch is a star.
I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying you've really been pushing for him for 4 years straight. And I hope that he gets his day just to make you happy. You know,
are you his agent?
It seems like
I should be. I'd be like, look, number one. No, I don't like if I was, I don't know, because his agent is incredible because he still gets some jobs. And even though he did, these movies that are, they're fine. But people like Henry Cavill, Taylor Kitsch, these folks should just be, in my opinion, they had a shot, and I just don't know what's happening. I don't know what went down, but I do see other people coming up and and saying they should have been a star. Like Regina King should have been huge years ago. Oh, she should have been a monster.
Now she's getting her day.
Yeah,
she's finally getting. So I'm like, you know what? That's fine because like she should have been. I remember her in Poetic Justice, and I was like, man, who is that? Who in the world? And she, so other people are getting their time, but I don't know what Taylor Kitsch and Henry Cavill's issue is. Who knows?
Yeah, did you see Taylor Kitsch in Waco in that
Dan
series?
loves that joint.
It was good. He was really good in that.
You know what's really?
Okay, I take it all back, Steve. Not that I said anything bad, but he was really, really fucking good in that.
I mean, you forgot that was not David Koresh.
Totally.
I mean,
I'm not going to put the two together, Rebecca, but I think that he transformed very closely to, like, say, Jamie Foxx's Ray. You know, it's a difference because the
yeah.
mannerisms and the
Sure,
action. I mean, like,
sure,
I think
sure.
Jamie Foxx definitely had the better transformation, but he turned into fucking David Koresh in that. It was
Oh no,
crazy.
I completely agree with that. I see the parallels that you're drawing there, and I remember, um, yeah, I remember watching Waco week to week. I think they were dropping it like an episode a week.
Yep.
And you know who else was in that? It was Michael Shannon, who I love. Michael Shannon. I think he does like some really great work, and he always takes very interesting roles and plays really interesting characters.
Very strange face.
Guy's
He
got a
does
mug.
have a very strange face.
He has to be a cop or a detective or the bad guy.
He does have a mug, and I think that's why when he's on screen, you just can't take your eyes off of him, because there are some people on screen that they're so beautiful when they're on screen. You're like, I can't look away. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. But then there are people who just have such a really interesting face that you're just like, I'm trying to figure out this guy's face. Do I think he's good looking or not? He just raised his eyebrow really weird. What's that about? Like, he's got that face. But that whole show, Waco, was so interesting because it really delved into what went down, as much, I guess, as you can know the whole story of what went down there. But, and the show, there was a point in the show where I did almost feel like the show wanted me to feel sorry for David Koresh. Like, that's how good of a job Taylor Kitsch is doing playing this character. And I'm like getting annoyed, like, oh, you want me to feel sorry for this guy? I'm not feeling sorry for. I don't care what you're showing me. I'm not going to feel sorry for this guy. And I think by the end, I felt like, okay, you weren't trying to make me feel sorry for him. I think you were just trying to paint a whole picture of how people responded to him. And
Sure.
I get that. And
there had to be some kind of quality that he drew so many people to.
100%.
Like he was the face of the cult of personality.
Was he sincere? Or was it all of a front?
You know,
I believe he was. I really do.
I think he was sincere. Like, whether that means that he truly believed, like, sanely believed what he was preaching, or if he had some sort of a mental problem or a mental thing, a switch that didn't connect right, and that's what made him be genuine. I don't know. That I couldn't answer for you, but I think that he truly was. I think he was legit and he believed what he said. And so it's like, but at the same time, the show doesn't paint the FBI as like the quote unquote good guys in all of this.
Good.
Because, oh yeah, believe me, Steve, believe me, I am not the one to get on here and say, well, if the cops arrested you, you must be guilty. That's not me.
Exactly.
That's not me.
Exactly. Yeah.
My thing is, if the cops arrested you, did they do it right? Because they probably didn't. And
of course not. Yeah.
They probably they probably shouldn't have arrested. I shouldn't say that, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But they never paint the FBI as like the good guys in all of this. I think probably there were individual people within that scenario that certainly were trying to find the best way to end this. But as overall, the FBI fucked that up a lot and did terrible, shitty things, and people ended up dying. And there were women and children in that thing, in that complex that died, that lost their lives because the FBI was trigger happy. And that's not acceptable. And the show never makes like excuses for them either.
Right.
So if that was maybe something that you felt like, well, I don't want to watch it because of that, which I totally understand. I felt like the show tried to present a very balanced, rendering of the events as best as they could, and I think that Taylor Kitsch did an amazing job in that role.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it because
I think
Dan knows I am because it has Taylor Kitsch in it. So eventually, I'm going to.
You will get around to it. You're just a guy that might take 4 or 5 years to do it, but you will.
Because I remember when this all. I remember when it all occurred.
I saw it on TV live, man.
Dude,
crazy.
Listen, I mean, especially in the church, it was a big deal. It was a big deal, this guy doing this thing. And now looking back, I have interesting opinions, but we will get into that one day. But I know, Dan, you want to get into the reviews and such or what?
Yeah, we can do that. Should I do the old contact info real quick? Not that I haven't heard it 1,000 times, but why the hell not? What's up, Steve?
I know, I was doing this music for you.
Okay, gotcha, buddy. Here we go. That's not it. That's not the music, ladies and gentlemen. That's fucking weird. I'm hitting the actual
Ladies
button.
and gentlemen.
I'm hitting the actual button that I hit
I
every
thought you
single
had
time.
news to tell. Be like, this just in.
I should make some shit up. You know what? Dustin Diamond died. We can go with that.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Rest in peace. You know what? Might as well. Hold on. Let's just do that real quick because you know what? What the hell? Let's just make things right here. Welcome to Noise News. This is an impromptu one. I really wasn't going to do this, but hey, what's happening, everybody? Yeah, like I said, Dustin Diamond from Saved by the Bell, he played Screech, died yesterday at 44 of stage 4 lung cell carcinoma, I believe is what it was.
I believe
Couldn't say it,
so,
but that's
yeah.
what it was. Yeah, that's sad. I didn't, personally, I didn't watch the show. I did watch a little bit of, I've seen it in the background and such, but I just missed it because of the age I was. I wasn't into those things at the time. But sure, I know who he is. I know he's been troubled and he's had a rough past, and I don't think he was a part of the reunion, right? I don't think he was because he was probably sick.
Well, I think a lot of people were commenting that he wasn't on that, and I don't think he was invited to be on it. And people were like, "Oh, like what's that about?" But just sad, just a sad end to his life.
Yeah, but didn't he do something? Am I making this up, or didn't he stab somebody not too long ago?
He did. I think he was in jail for a little while.
Yeah, like I said, he's just, and then he, what were some of the other highlights of?
Well, I mean, he did a porno, which is
I was gonna say the sex tape.
He did a sex tape, and
who hasn't really?
I mean,
come on.
At this point, yeah, who hasn't? I don't know. Like, I think he really suffered from what a lot of child stars suffer from. They get locked into this one thing. And it's very hard to break out of that. I mean, look at Jaleel White. I mean, where's that kid after his whole "did I do that"? Like,
seriously,
where's his career gone? Like, a lot of those kids. I mean, yeah,
he's on Cameo or something.
Probably. Although I heard that he beat up his girlfriend, so fuck that guy.
Oh,
if that's
Jesus
true.
Christ.
If that's true, fuck that guy. If not, sorry, dude.
We just heard about the whole, I don't know if you were there for the conversation, Rebecca, because we were having some issues with your audio, but okay. I just found out about frickin' Shia. I had no idea that he was I knew he was a douche to begin with, but I didn't know that he had the abusive side.
I just read all of that stuff. I mean, I'm not terribly surprised just because of the guy that he is. Not that I know him personally, but just from his history. And then his like non-apology is just that. It's a non-apology. Oh boy. Yeah.
I'm sorry if anybody was affected by my actions. I'm like, that's not an apology.
Yeah, that's not an apology. And how I think back to like a couple years ago, how much I was championing his like resurgence with like his work in Honey Boy and
Peanut Butter Falcon.
Work in Peanut Butter Falcon, and I was just go watch those movies, go support those movies. Oh my gosh, Shia LaBeouf is amazing, and then he's not a nice person, and I don't know. It's just
I'm
sad.
starting to believe because I know I used to debate whether we can separate the artist from the art. I just don't think we should do that anymore. It's become too toxic. It's just too toxic. It gives people way too much ability to, you don't know, like it's easy for you to say, I'm gonna separate the art from the artist, but the person, the woman, the man, whoever's living in that house with that person, they're dealing with it and you're just giving fuel to the fire. They're still living a normal life then.
Let me ask you a question, Steve. Does that mean no more Michael Jackson?
You know what's funny about Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
The more I think about it, you know how often I listen to him?
Quite a bit.
Never.
Really?
No, I don't ever listen to him.
I thought you were like always listening
Here's
to
the
Michael.
person. John Lennon. Like he beat his people. He beat his women.
But you celebrate the Beatles.
I celebrate exactly. But and it's like
you do a podcast about the Beatles, Steve.
And here's the hard thing. It's like, but the Beatles is not just him. But I'm like, no. He is in that group.
Yeah.
And there's even a lyric that said, I used to be cruel to my women. I beat her and set her apart from the things that she loved.
What about if a group, and in this case, I don't expect you to know this, but you're familiar with the band Judas Priest.
I am.
You've heard of the band before.
I am very familiar with the Priests of Judah.
Okay. So they've had a very successful career, but their drummer, this was close to 20 years ago, maybe even a little bit more than that. He ended up being a pedophile and he was convicted of it. they just removed him, put someone else, and kept on going. That's okay, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just like, but it's hard to forgive people. Like, okay, here's another one, and we've talked about this before. Can you ever watch Bill Cosby himself again?
I haven't since the.
Nor have I. But if given the chance, would you?
I don't know if I could watch it the same, because even little jokes he makes, I'm like, I wonder if that means.
Yeah, dude, I can't do it. I decided that. Like, it's a really funny piece of comedy, but I just can't go back and look at that anymore.
Even I mean, look at can we watch?
I don't even want to watch The Usual Suspects anymore.
Oh Jesus!
Oh
right?
God, Kevin Spacey. Fuck
You know?
And why are we still watching Woody Allen movies?
I never
And
did.
actors and actresses still make an excuse for being in his movie.
You know what? I have a real big problem with that. I really do. I have a real big problem with people who still are making movies with Woody Allen and have the nerve to say, "Well, I never experienced any bad things."
So
on this.
ridiculous.
Well, I'm so glad that you didn't, but there's a whole long list of people here who would like to file a complaint.
Exactly. It's gross.
And you know what? There are people, and I guess it's up to each person, because there are people who can look at an actor or a singer or an artist's work and say, I can separate the person from the art. And I think it depends on the person who's viewing, and I think it depends on what the person has done. Because I don't watch Tom Cruise movies anymore, and for a lot of reasons, and I don't want to give that man any more of my money. If I can watch his stuff, if I have to watch it, like if I'm like going to review it or something, if I can watch it in a way that I don't give him any money, I'll do it. But I cannot separate who he is and the things he has done and continues to do from the art that he makes, and that's just me. But I know plenty of people, friends of mine, who can separate, and I don't judge them. I don't judge anybody for that. I can just, like when it comes to Cosby, like I have tried to watch some Cosby Show episodes, and it just makes me sad.
Yeah, the Cliff Huxtable is ruined.
Oh, dude.
When I think of what he was trying to teach people on that show, when I think of the platform he had as a black man to have a black family on TV, and everybody, excuse me, were different skin tones and different shades to show this is a black family. And nobody was a maid or a butler, these were educated people, right? A doctor and a lawyer got married and had a bunch of kids, and all their kids were going to go to college, right? They lived in a nice house in Brooklyn. And I mean, this was a black show that people had not seen before.
Yes.
And the platform he had, and the way that he treated, the people on the show, the way he treated Lisa Bonet when she wouldn't conform to what he felt was the right thing to do, he killed her career.
Sure did.
But then he goes back to his trailer, he's slipping fucking Quaaludes to women and raping them. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I just watched The Cosby Show now. I'm just sad. I
can't do it. I mean, I think the closest thing I could watch is Different World.
You know what? I have watched A Different World. I continue to watch A Different World, and I enjoy that. I still enjoy that. It is fantastic.
They don't, you know what? I think there is room. If someone does a podcast of A Different World series or show by show, it would be huge. Because I think more people have watched that show than I think. I thought it was just like, me and my circle of friends. And the more people I meet, they're like, no, everybody watched A Different World. I was like, I didn't know that.
I loved
that.
I loved that show.
It was so good. One of the best theme songs. So good.
Yes, absolutely. Do you remember in the first season of A Different World, they had, and I say this with like no malice, they had the token white kid? They had the one white guy on the show. Yep. And then after that, he went away, and it was like an all black cast.
All black. It was, and how Whitley was in love with Denzel Washington.
Oh,
it was a thing. Like, I'm like, that's right.
Denzel.
Oh, Denzel. Oh, it's so there's so many, like back then there were so many. If I watch the Cosby Show now, there's a lot of respectability stuff in there.
Sure.
Well, if you do this, and do this, you'll be treated right. And it's like, oh, he's always thought that. But then in his trailer, he's like, yeah, but I'm above it all.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's hard for me to watch Woody Allen, Cosby, any of these people. I'm waiting. I mean, the balls are going to drop on a lot of people in the history.
Well, who's the newest that's up right now? It's Marilyn Manson. That's new news. Yeah, new news. Dude, with Evan Rachel Wood.
The good thing is I never listened to him. And I think people who didn't listen to him kind of look and were like, okay, well, but I feel bad for who went through it. My thing is like, skip if I liked him or not. It's terrible that these women had to go through that horrendous experience, regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so people need to, here's the thing, he's still going to have dude bros in his audiences. Make no mistake. Those audience, if anything, they're going to be extended through the dude bro society.
Yeah, I feel like somehow he'll bounce back. He's never been a favorite of mine. There's a couple of his first 2 albums I really liked, and after that I just lost touch completely. But his record label, Loma Linda Records, dropped his ass like quick. They just dropped him instantaneously after she put out that tweet. And I think that's a good thing, but I think that he will somehow find a way to bounce back. But you're right, dude. I think a lot of this is it's going to be back to the dude bro thing where there was a lot of women in the audience
dude.
Before.
It's over. The dude bros will save him for sure.
But I mean, in this day and age, I mean, there's a lot of talk when women, and it's not just women, but it's mostly women who are victims of sexual assault and of being abused by their partner. When they do come forward and tell their story, there is this huge, I mean, it is mostly dude bros. I mean, there's this huge base of dude bros who are like, she's just making it up so she could be famous, so she could get some kind of money out of this or a book deal. That is, when you look at how many women have made allegations against people like Woody Allen. Is Woody Allen still making movies? He's still making movies.
Yep, so, no problem.
Are we talking, so all this, complaining about cancel culture, more often than not, unfortunately, the abuser will bounce back and still find an audience. So today we're talking about Shia LaBeouf and the allegations from his partners or ex-partners. And you know what? In a year or two, he'll be back in the movies.
No,
it's
question.
Not like he's not going to have a career now. And where will she be? Is she going to have to go into hiding like so many women have had to do? Is she going to have to change her address and change her name and move 3 times? Because that's happened too.
Probably, yeah.
The thing with Evan Rachel Wood is that she has for a long time spoken about being with somebody who did abuse her, and she's spoken out and become an advocate for it. She had just chosen not to name the person up until now. And
that's true. That's true.
And
I mean, and you can even look at it how, like this Johnny Depp thing. I don't even know what the updates are, but let me tell you, when we did not know what happened, everyone was like, I don't believe her for some reason. I'm like, why? I don't know. I think she's making it up. Well, why though? Like, why do you automatically think Depp is above this? And you don't know either one of these people. So say Depp comes out and he's like, he never was touched. He never, or he never hurt her. He never did anything to her. Still, why did you automatically believe he didn't do it? Automatically came to his defense. Why is that? You know what I'm saying? I can understand where afterwards you're like, oh, well, he didn't, so he's a good person. Right. But in the midst of it, there were tons of people being like, she's lying. I'm like, you don't know him. He's not really the freaking Pirates of the Caribbean guy. He's not really who's eating Gilbert Grape. Yeah. That's not him. We don't know who he is. We don't know who she is.
Right.
So, but they automatically came to his defense. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be dangerous. As time goes forward, oh, it's going to be gross.
It's even more twisted when they're actors because that's what they do. Oh, so they can put on a front.
Dude. And then with Homegirl from Harry Potter being like, well, I've talked to him and he seems like I'm like, it hasn't even been adjudicated yet. So you had a conversation with him?
If you're talking about J.K. Rowling, she should probably just shut the fuck up. She's got enough on her plate.
Well,
shut up,
I mean, can we take anything she says seriously at this point?
Yeah, you're right. Nope, you're right.
And that's nothing against you, Steve. Like, I'm not like yelling
nope,
at
you're
you
right.
about
you're
it.
Right.
But she's proven to clearly not be an ally to marginalized groups. So I mean, I think we can kind of, whatever she says, we'll just be like, oh, okay, that's nice. Go sit over there.
She is a horrible person.
She is, and you know what? It breaks my heart. It breaks
Bummer.
my heart because I'm not really a big Harry Potter fan to begin with. I've seen all the movies.
It's not your thing.
It's not my thing, and it had nothing to do with her. But this is all before I knew who she was, or I should say, what she was. But I mean, then to have her come out and say all these terrible things about transgender women, and then to the point to have the cast come out and say, we are not with her in any way, shape, or form. We are not on her side in this. And then for her to just keep doubling down and insisting that her disgusting viewpoint is right. It's just, it breaks my heart for people who are true fans of Harry Potter. People who are like, I want more of this universe, but I hate what the creator is saying. That to me, I'm heartbroken for those people because that is like a fandom that they truly loved and probably still love. But
I'm one of those people. It's kind of fucked up.
It's gross.
If I found, sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I was excited to hear that they're doing this live action Harry Potter related show. I think it's on HBO Max, and that intrigued me. But you're right. There's just such a dark veil over it now.
I get it. Yeah.
It's almost like you want to watch these things in the dark when no one's looking or something.
Literally. And it's such a tough part because there's a conversation to be had. If someone was like, hey, like if kids were like, well, how do we, if someone's transgender and they're running and they're, in my brain, they're transgender, but aren't they still a guy? And da-da-da-da-da. My son asked me and I was like, no, they've changed. Well, how is it fair though? I'm like, they're going to have to figure out how to make it fair. They are a woman. The end. You have to see it that way. That's what it is. Or that woman is now a man. Game over. Now figure out from that standpoint how we do sports and everything. Start there. Right. And then figure out how to go from there. Don't be like, well, how about we don't believe them and figure out how to keep sports the same? How about you do believe them and figure out how sports change in order to help them, in order to help their existence? Mm-hmm. Do that. Mm-hmm. Isn't that what we should be doing? Or are you just like, no, I want to make billions of dollars though? That's where we are now, huh? That's what's important.
Yeah, but
figure
I love
out how
money
to make
more
it work.
People, Steve. Oh, it's such a conundrum.
I hate like when people are like, yeah, but sports won't be fair. It's not fair that they're box. I'm like, why don't you start from this is who they are and go from there? That's the baseline. Game over. Now figure it out. It's your job. You get a lot of money. Figure it out. Mm-hmm. It's gross, dude. But I know. Okay, Dan. Okay, we're gonna move forward.
I was
gonna say. We should probably get back on track since we have some reviews to do, and we weren't really gonna do news in the first place. So let's just do this.
Let's do that. What we should have done before I derailed
we'll do that.
us.
It's okay. Back. No. It's all good. I just like talking, so it's fine. But back to business here. We did watch some movies, you guys. So what should we talk about first? I believe that you both did your due diligence and ended up watching all three. Is that correct?
Yes, I watched all three things.
Nice. Steve?
I did 2.75.
2.75, and the 0.75 is the one we were talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and start off with HBO Max's release of The Little Things. Now, let me give you the premise real quick, all right? Kern County Deputy Sheriff Joe Deacon is sent to Los Angeles for what should have been quick evidence-gathering assignment. Instead, he becomes embroiled in a in a search for the serial killer who is terrorizing the city. It's written by John Lee Hancock. It's also directed by him. Stars Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. Let's talk about this movie. I definitely have some opinions about this, but Rebecca, please, what did you think?
There is a good movie in this somewhere. It's that's not what I watched. It's an interesting premise. It's more than an interesting premise. I think it's a very good premise. And I think with the star power that's in it, I mean, Jared Leto, Rami Malek, Denzel Washington, like, how could you fail with this movie? The movie was a slog to get through. It was just very drawn out. And it was edited really weird. Lots of really weird quick cuts in odd spots. I personally think this movie would have been better if they had made it like maybe a 4 to 6 episode miniseries and done like a really good character study on these characters in here. It's not a great movie. It's like an okay movie, and I'm being a little generous even with the okay. It's very difficult to get through, and it just takes forever to get to the point. And then the ending is interesting. I think the ending has some interesting stuff. But it's not a great ending either.
The ending was actually what got me going. Okay, I need to think a little bit about this, because there's some character issues with this part.
Sure.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the ending was definitely something that stuck out.
I thought the ending was interesting. There was something that did happen in the ending that I was like, oh wow. Okay. Like that I thought was like a really interesting end to the story. And I don't want to give it away if anybody wants to watch it then, and I don't want to say what it is. But you guys know what I'm talking about. And so I thought it was like, okay, I see why they did that. And
we could talk spoilers.
Can we? Because I feel
you know
like
what? Let's do it. Hey, there's going to give you a
it.
warning right now. Spoilers on this one. I should have put it up. Maybe I'll put it on the notes, but just know spoilers from this point on.
So when Denzel sends Rami Malek the hair clip, like I was like, wow. Like he did not want him to live with the guilt. He wanted to give him a piece of something to go, you see, what we did was right.
Right.
And you could see when he gets it, he's like, oh, like he like visibly feels better. And then you see Denzel burning a pack of hair clips. He just bought one and sent it to him. And I thought that was very interesting to me. I thought it was a neat part of the ending. The other part that I really loved is when Jared Leto takes Rami Malek out to the farm, and he's got him digging up. Oh, maybe it's over here. Maybe it's over. Like that whole scene was great. But by the time you get to that, you're just like, oh, come on, get to the point of the movie. Like it was hard for me to the last 45 minutes for me don't redeem the rest of the movie.
So what I took from the ending, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is maybe you don't know either. I think that he did it. I'm pretty sure he did, but they never really gave that to us. They just sort of alluded to it. It was one of those things like, I do know, but then again, he's also like a crime buff. So he knows a lot about these things. He did have the history of turning himself in and confessing to something, and they proved it, that it was bogus. But I got the impression that he actually was the guy, but because they didn't necessarily know if they were ever going to truly find that out, particularly with what happens to him at the end, I got that Denzel's character, Deeks, whatever, had like looked at his life, looked at Rami Malek and said, okay, this guy's got a family. He's happy. He's got kids. He's, way, way, way into his career. He's a blue flamer just shooting out of his ass, trying to do the right thing. And he's always going to live with this. And if I don't do something to give him further belief that he was right, he is going to drive his life into the ground, much like I did mine.
Right.
And if that's the case, cool, I guess. And maybe that's just the old cop looking out for the new cop and, seeing himself in there. But then, it was the whole thing of him tampering with the evidence. They did that a couple of times where they sort of, allowed things to happen that probably shouldn't happen. And we've seen this in movies before. By the way, did anyone else get Seven vibes off of this?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this movie really, really, really wanted to be Seven. Not Seven at all. If you haven't seen Seven, check it out because that is a fantastic movie. But that's the impression that it gave me, is that he was just trying to cover it up so this guy didn't further ruin his life and end up just like him when he was older.
Totally agree with that, yeah.
So I don't know. It's like this movie, like you're saying, there's a good movie in there somewhere. I mean, I know that Steve and I we riff on Jared Leto a lot, but I think he did a fantastic job in that. And you have Rami, Denzel, who never misses. And then, of course, Jared Leto. There's a movie there. And the script, the acting was really good. It was just the pacing. It was the lack of story and the lack of character building. And then that even more when it comes to the character building, they didn't know each other that well. it's not like they've been through, what was it, maybe a week's time?
Right.
Maybe. But yet Denzel's willing to do all of this for him. I don't know. I just really wasn't buying it. And so I enjoyed the movie, but it's not something that I would be like, oh, you have to watch this. I don't even know if I would. I don't think I'm going to even rate it too high because it was like such a letdown at the end. Steve, you want to go ahead and say something and then I'll get my rating at the end?
I'm the outcast because I really enjoyed this movie.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I really, for me, it was as soon as Denzel, I knew exactly what was going down. This strapped in young kid that, he's like, oh, I'm going to take the world by storm. And it's not happening the way he thought it was. He thought you come in, you do the detective work and you find the killer. And in walks this guy who did everything differently, but somehow he was more of a successful, legendary person that caught serial killers. And so he's like, well, I want to learn from him. And even Denzel keeps on giving these warnings, being like, you do not want to do this like me. But then soon he's like, well, skip it. Come, if you really want to know how this goes. He even went to the one time in the beginning, he started doing things by himself. Rami came to him and said, hey, I noticed you went to that other building. What were you doing? And Denzel's like, are you sure is this what you want to do? Okay, come on through. And he transforms into Denzel. It took in his whole life. He said, look, we're angels and we own them. And right when he said that, Rami was not the same. Because in his brain, he owned these people now. It's on me to catch the killer, and he's not catching them. He owns them. It's like, geez, that is devastating. And then when you find out why Denzel is owning these people, what he did accidentally, and I was like, oh, Jesus, yeah, I'd own that too. I was like, yeah, that was an honest mistake, but you would never want to go back to that. And at the end, when he sends him the beret, I genuinely thought that was the beret until later on when he burns everything. And then, okay, I'm not a Jared Leto fan, ladies and gentlemen. I don't like the guy. He annoys the crap out of me. But I will admit, he walked different. His gait was different. The way he carried himself was different. I said, wow, Jared Leto is doing his thing in this one. When he had the scene in the field where he's just like, not where I thought it was. I said, oh man, this is really fun. Like, what is he doing?
Right.
I don't know what he was doing, but it was enough to make me be like, oh, Rami's going to be crazy. He's losing his mind slowly. And he was needling him and needling him and needling him. And so you kind of smelled, this is going to go one of two ways.
I just love the shit he would do. Like he would, remember when he was leading Denzel on the car chase and he would just keep doing circles?
Yep. Totally.
Yeah. Or when when he calls the cops on them and he's just sitting there having his drink and watching everything go down at his apartment. He just loved screwing with them. And I really think that was probably the best. I don't know. Like I really wanted to know more about this character, but that's kind of one of my favorite roles of Jared Leto. He did
a fantastic job. And I loved how, Denzel rearranged the interview room. He's like, is it okay if I move this stuff? Because you guys have it too a certain way. If you really want, and how Denzel was just watching him through the window. And I just loved how Rami Malek was this tight, crimped, hey, I have my suit on and everything. And slowly he started devolving into this thing taking over his very existence. This thing was, it wasn't a profession anymore. It just consumed him. And, there's a part where you get to meet Denzel's wife. And it's like, Rami, that's where you're going to be.
Exactly.
That's where you're going to be if you don't. And Denzel smelled it. And he sent him the letter that said the perfect thing. And it's like, but here's the thing. The spoilers. Here's the thing. The letter was like, there are no angels. What he's telling him is, even if we don't get the perfect guy, no one's an angel on this planet. He did something. He did something.
Well, I mean,
so we got a bad guy off the street. And for you, I'll give you the Brett and say that he did that.
Right.
If that's going to make you sleep okay.
But the only thing that really confused me about this, and we'll never find this out, it's not like they're going to make this movie, a sequel or something like that, but it bothered me that it's like, okay, what if it wasn't him? Yes, like I said, it could have been him. Yeah. But if it wasn't him, Denzel just sent homie a beret rather, or a clip, and like the other shoe will drop. If it's a serial killer, it's going to happen again.
Totally.
So I don't know. It was kind of
But you have to trust, like Denzel, his senses as this old serial. He's like, it was him. Will we find everything we need? Probably not. He said, the only thing that's going to dig this guy back up is you. You keep your mouth shut, this thing goes away because it was him. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have to worry about any more bodies. Because let me tell you something. I've done this a long time and it was him. You shut your mouth and you will never hear another word from him. And even at the end, the FBI was like, look, the trail is cold. There's nothing, no more, nothing. We have nothing. I'm like, yeah, because there's never going to be another body. Because it was him. It's just Rami needs to have 100%. And Denzel was like, you give me 70%. It was him. I'm good. Rami needs 100. So he was like, here's the barrette then. Fine. Take it. You got your 100. 60% is enough for me. I'm pretty sure that weirdo did something. Because he also was like, did you tell anyone else about this mile marker? Is it in any released information? And he's like, no. So how else would he know that? It was him. There's no other possibility. But then later on, you hear a cop scanner in Jared Leto's house. So you're like, maybe that's how he knew. Yeah. It's just a lot of stuff. But he's like, look, dude's weird enough where it was him. Let's call it a day. Zip it up. I'm going back home. Holla at your boy. Never contact me again. Dude's buried. Peace. I thought after the movie, I was like, I liked it. I was in.
I did not hate this movie.
Yeah, I was in, dude. So, yeah, go for it. Guys, give you rate or y'all give your rating.
Rebecca, go ahead.
I think I'm going to give this one 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5 barrettes.
I like it.
I wanted to give this movie more. Like I said, I think there's at least a 4 somewhere in this movie. Mm-hmm. However, it's not that. I just had some issues with it that kept it like stuck in my head more than it should have. And like I said, I enjoyed the acting and everything. I just think that the story didn't quite do what I needed it to do. And I kept finding myself comparing it to Seven, which is just a far superior movie. But there are lots of similarities. That said, I think that they did a great job. But I'm going to go ahead and give this movie I'll give it a 3. Really give it a 3? Yeah. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 Shirley Temples.
Dope. I'm going to give this movie a 3 out of 5 bullet keychains.
There it is.
Cool.
All right. Well, then you liked it a little more than me, but we sort of rated the same. I tend to go a little higher with my ratings. You go high,
yeah. That's what it is.
Maybe it's more of a 2.5, 2.75, but like I said, there's a quality movie in there, and I think that's why I'm going a little bit higher on this one.
Rami's a freaking star.
He's an interesting looking cat, too.
That dude, that's what Melissa kept on saying. Man, he looks interesting. About 15 times through the whole movie. She's like, gosh, that's an interesting looking
it's
guy.
like, I know that we like this movie better than some, but when I was watching this movie, I'm like, oh, I know why they picked him to be Freddie Mercury. Like, dude. You know, like it should have been Sacha Baron Cohen, but I get why they picked him. He's got that bridge. He's got that upper maxillary situation going on, dude, where the teeth just come out a little bit.
Oh, but, yeah. And also, there's a part where...
Not hating. I'm just making a statement.
Oh, yeah. He breaks. He says, hey, man, I like that we're hanging out together and we're giving tips. He's like, but if you pee on my leg and say there's rain, we're done.
Yeah.
I said, I love that part because I was thinking, oh, Denzel's just using him to get places. And for Rami to say that, I was like, I love it. That means he knew. He's like, look, dude, I'm not dumb. I'm giving you all this information, but don't make it seem like you're doing me some sort of favor here. You're not. I was like, oh, I like it.
I cannot do a Rami Malek, but he's got the most interesting delivery sometimes, the way he talks. He just slows instead of...
How he hasn't played a serial killer yet, I do not understand.
Yeah, I don't know. He's very interesting.
He'd get arrested on the spot. They'll be like, oh, I know who did it.
It's this guy. Look at those wee beady eyes.
It's that guy right there.
All right, let's talk about #life. I wasn't expecting both of you to watch this one.
Is it life or like?
All right, thank you very much. I actually wrote like. I was
about to say, oh, crap.
No, you're 100% right. I'm sorry about that. I fuck up sometimes. Let's talk about, let's talk about
we were
hashtag.
Talking about the Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy vehicle.
Yeah, that's a good movie, man. It's a better movie than this one, I think. But let's talk about #like. That's the movie. This movie's actually from 2019, but I believe they're just releasing this one now. So I'm going to call it a 2021 movie because that's when I saw it.
Thank you.
A Woodstock teen, Rosie, mourning the first anniversary of her younger sister's death, discovers the mysterious man who sexploited and bullied her sister to commit suicide and is back online. This movie is directed by Sarah Pirzek, I believe is how you say her name. It's also written by her. It stars Mark Menchaca, Sarah Rich, and Jeff Wincott. Does anyone, you know what? I don't want to go first on this one. Someone else go. Who wants to
I'm not going to go because I only watched 2 points.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Then
yeah,
you know
so
what?
I'm going to let y'all discuss this because I clocked out.
Rebecca, would you like me to go first or do you want to go first?
I could go first if you don't want to go first.
Oh, I don't mind. I was just trying to, give you the courtesy. Please do.
Okay, the synopsis is very intriguing, and this is another case, though, of a really great idea and not executed well. This movie was, again, it's only like an hour and a half, but I had trouble really understanding, like, it's this.
Are we going to do spoilers on this one? I didn't mean to cut you off, Rebecca. Do you want to do spoilers?
Fine. Maybe we can, if that's okay.
Spoilers at the top for the rest of the show. Just letting you know.
Okay, so like, I understand Rosie's motivations, right? She, her sister, and we don't get the full story till like the end of the movie. That's the other thing. Like, the full story of what happened comes out like at the end of the movie. But her sister commits. Her sister died a year ago, and we know it had something involving school stuff, and so she's like, I don't know, she's like this typical teenager who's like, she and her friends, they get together and they smoke and they drink and they get high and whatever. That's fine. Teenagers do that. These kids today and all that. But so it seems like she decides to go after the guy who online cyberbullied her sister. And we find out, like, at the end that, like, basically he pushed her into showing him her breasts, and she flashed him, and then he wanted her to do more stuff for him, and she wouldn't, and he then sent a picture of her breasts to, like, everyone in the school. And everyone in the school made fun of her, and the boys tried to touch her, and she was bullied and pushed, and she ended up killing herself. It's a terribly tragic story, and I wish they could have done more with that aspect of it. Like, I wanted sort of more investigation stuff, but instead, like, it seems like she finds the guy very quickly, and then she, like, straight up kidnaps him, ties him up in her bomb shelter, but then the end of the movie, he wasn't the guy. And I felt like the movie... sorry, Steve, I just spoiled it all for you.
Oh, no. Dan, what did I tell you?
That was the last thing you told me. I go, he's not the guy.
Yeah.
You knew it. You knew it.
He's not the guy. She tries to kill herself with him there, and then he's the dad of the boy who she kind of liked, and then there's no clear answer to me of who was the person, and she's like, oh, well, I guess we all had a hand in it, so I was very disappointed in this movie. I felt it was very disappointing for what it was trying to tackle. I didn't think it was executed well at all.
You want to rate it?
Oh gosh, I'm only, it's so hard sometimes because I'm like, all right, I gave the other one 2 out of 5, and I think this one's even worse. So I gotta give it 1.5 out of 5. 1.5 out of 5 beer bottles.
Thanks for playing. It's fucking hard sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
I love Rebecca's way of, that's how I think of things. Like, I think of other things I've gave a 3, and I'm like, that movie's not as good as that, so I have to rate it.
I just
lower.
said the other one was a 2, and is this one
Yep.
the same or
that's
worse?
how my brain works.
And how can I justify my rating if I you know, like, whatever? I'm gonna give it 1.5 out of 5. I just, for what the movie is supposed to be about, I don't think it's about that at all. And she spends the whole movie like, I'm going to get vengeance for my sister. I'm going to make this guy fucking pay, which I get that motivation. But then when she realizes it's not him, she's just like, oh, well, I guess I'll kill myself now. I just was like, what? What? Go to therapy, honey. Work it out. Like,
Mom's going to be pissed.
Yeah. Oh, man. Mom's going to be pissed when she finds out I had a guy down here tied up.
What do you think, Steve?
For me, it was just like I clocked out right around the time. There's one part I said this is gonna be bad. There when she sees such and such man missing posters up on the tree, and she's shocked. Oh my God, people know he's missing. I'm like, yeah, that tends to be what happens when someone is missing. People start looking for said person, and then later on, like she drugs him or something. He gets sick, and I thought, oh, the only justification for this movie doing this is if it's not the guy. And I was texting Dan. I was like, we were talking. I was like, oh, it's not him. It's for sure not him, because that's the only reason they would do this. I'm not going to finish it. Once Dan said, hey, we also want to watch that other movie, I'm like, oh, well, then I'm going to watch the other movie. I'm not going to finish this. So from what I saw, I'm right there with Rebecca. I'm giving it a 1.75. 1.75 puke buckets.
All right, I'm with you. Was it a puke bucket? I don't think it was a puke bucket, Steve.
It was more of a poopy bucket.
It was a shit bucket.
I thought he puked in it.
No, he sat on that bucket. He's like, I need that bucket. And
I know, but at first I thought he was throwing up. He bent over and now he went. My brain thought puke.
He went full on. What's that movie? The Green. You know what I'm talking about? The Green with the cannibals.
Oh shoot! The Green Inferno. Yeah, that dude went full on Green Inferno. Anyway.
But I'm with you guys. I don't really have a lot to say about this one. What I will say is I've seen this movie before, and actually all the movies that we've watched have tropes that I've seen before. Doesn't always necessarily make it a bad movie, though. I mean, sometimes some tropes are essential to tell the story. In this case, it's like I've seen this movie. It was just sort of flipped gender-wise, and I just really had trouble with the fact that I get it. Like, I understand where she's coming from. She lost her sister. She's, PTSD. She's been on this mission for a while, and she thinks she's found this guy. But she went so hardcore with that, like no research other than hearing a guy say, I double dog dare you. That was it. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing. And she went way hardcore to the point of, when like the scene with the dildo. Did you get that far, Steve?
Yes, dude.
And she's taking pictures. And I'm led to believe that she did insert that when she was taking pictures. So she went super hardcore on this person. And I've seen shit like this before. We were talking about Game of Thrones earlier. I mean, the whole Ramsay Bolton thing, right?
Yeah.
That's just like a long-term torture or whatever. But here's the deal. She finds out at the end that it's not him. And then she tries to kill herself. And I don't know if I was him, if I would have been like, oh no, I better help her. Like, I would have just been fucking out. You made me shit in a bucket. You inserted, you did your thing. I don't know if I would have done what he did, but he did. Yeah. And then it just kind of goes away. But the other thing that was bothering me about this movie is, like Rebecca said, the guy that she's liking is his son, right? And he turns out to be a douche too.
Well, he turns out to be an asshole too, yeah.
Yeah, so, but was he the one that put the sign up saying that dad's missing? Because he didn't seem to have a fucking problem whatsoever. He was just rolling about his day, asking for dates and whatnot.
Right.
And,
like, because even he says, like, even that scene when they're in the pool,
mm-hmm.
and she asks him, like, do you live with your mom and dad? He's like, I live with my mom right now, and my dad just got back. So, like,
oh, that's right.
It's the only reference to his father. And it's a throwaway line, which I get for the reveal when she gets into his house and she sees pictures of Rory. Then it's like, oh shit, that's his kid. I mean, are we supposed to believe that, like, Rory is I don't think the movie was trying to say that. I don't think the movie was saying that Rory was the guy who did this terrible thing to the sister.
Uh-huh.
I definitely think the movie is saying it's some other guy in the shadows, who we don't get to really see. But it's just, and then also too, what happened to the guy that she kidnapped? He saves her,
right?
And then where did
everything's hunky dory?
She drives his truck somewhere and leaves it, and then where did he go? Did he go home? Like, where did he go to the hospital? Where was he? Did he die somewhere? Where is he?
He just left.
Nobody
Rebecca,
knows.
He just left.
And not that I need, like, I get sometimes we don't get happy endings in movies, and I'm not saying this had to be a happy ending movie for me, but I just wanted, by the end of the movie, I felt like what was the point of me watching this? Like, she didn't grow as a person. She didn't grow as a character. She didn't come to some, oh my God, I need help moment. No, she just was like, oh, the only growth she had, quote unquote, was that she was able to admit that she didn't help her and support her sister enough, that she felt like I wasn't there for her. But like, an hour and a half doesn't justify that to me.
I hear you. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to give this movie a lower rating as well. I will go, because I thought that, again, it had something. Like, it intrigued me a little bit by the trailer. I thought it was going to go a different direction. And but I will say one thing before I rate, because you sort of mentioned it when you said the man in the shadows. Were you referring to the literal man in the shadows at the end of the movie?
Yes, that guy.
Because that's when I'm like looking, and I even paused it. I'm like, is that Mark Menchaca? I don't know why he would go through everything he went through and then, like, jump right back into it, knowing that the sister was killed.
Sure.
But it kind of looked like him a little bit. I'm like, what? Okay, I guess that's not him, obviously. Yeah. It's not the son. We're just going to have to understand that he is this.
Yeah, they kept it very ambiguous just so you would be, like, questioning, who is it? But, yeah, what a shame, because this, again, a really interesting idea, a really relevant idea of, like, how, like, revenge porn is used against people. Like, I thought, like, this was absolutely could have been a really good movie.
And the other thing too is that there's a message to be heard here. I mean, they definitely were going for something, I think, and then they just sort of let it go awry. But this stuff does happen a lot. There is a lot of online bullying and things, and people taking their lives. So, because of that, and people, like they said, even the teacher got involved with this at a certain point where he was making jokes in class. Yeah. And I do believe that toxic behavior exists. We know it to exist. So they had good intentions. It just sort of fell flat. So I'm going to go ahead and give it, 1.5 out of 5 drug pieces for me. It was just, I would not recommend this movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. And lastly, I'm curious about this one. If you don't mind, I'll go first on this one.
Yes.
All right.
Sure.
So I asked y'all to watch Palmer, starring Justin Timberlake. It's exclusively on Apple TV Plus. An ex-convict strikes up a friendship with a boy from a troubled home. That's pretty much the gist of the movie. And like I just said a few minutes ago, every movie that we're talking about this week is just chock full of tropes, this one included. I will say, though, that somehow this one, for me, I don't know what you guys are going to say about this, but for me, this movie ended up working. There's a lot that, like the first half of it, I could have really picked it apart. We've seen this 100 times. The guy it's a redemption movie. The guy comes home, he wants to make his life better. And even to the point of meeting the little boy. Again, spoilers at the top of this. We've seen all of those things before. And I wasn't really sold on it at first because I know Justin Timberlake can act. I don't think he's a fantastic actor, but I think that he is talented. But the delivery he was giving of just the whole kind of grunting and just saying a little bit, I thought, okay, is this how it's going to be the entire movie? And of course, as we know, as the movie carries on, he tends to warm up because of the addition of this child. And the child, by the way, is played by a kid named Ryder Allen, who's an 8-year-old, like ridiculously good actor. Like this kid, I fell in love with this kid. And I think quite honestly, he's what makes the movie. And I loved the message that they were giving with him about, it's okay to be different. And I'm just using that word for the purposes of this conversation. I loved that this kid didn't really see anything wrong with the way, even though people all around him were trying to tell him, you're acting like a girl, you're dressing like a girl, you're doing things, even Palmer, you're doing things that only a girl should do. And doesn't that bother you? And like he's talking about this kid, Sam, wants to be I forget what it's called. It was like the Princess Club or something. This kid's obsessed with princesses, which really bugged Palmer at first until he got to know this kid and found out how wonderful he was. But he asked him, he's like, look, don't you see that this is all geared towards girls, little girls, and you're a boy. So what does that tell you? And he gave the perfect answer. He's like, that means I can be the first. And there was just something about the delivery that this kid did, some of the reactions that he had, and of course the story, what he's going through. I'm going to be real with you guys. Like, I loved this movie. And even though I know it has a lot of tropes in it, but 100%, I don't know what it was. I had a fucking lump in my throat for like from the second half of this movie on, pretty much the entire time. And I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't in fucking tears by the end of this movie. So I'll hold off on, fuck it, I'll rate it. There are other things about this one that, again, we fall into the tropes. His friends, you've seen these guys before, these kind of like backwoods guys, all of that shit. There is just something that we've seen in movies before. But it was just some of the things that happened to this kid that really, really made me feel for him, particularly when Justin Palmer's friends get involved and they hold this kid down and put makeup all over his face and everything. And the way that he reacted when he came home and he was just so traumatized. That scene, even when Palmer goes to do what he does, it's all been there. But for some reason, and I don't know what it is, this movie completely fucking worked for me and I loved it. So I'm going to give this one, tropes and all, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 out of 5. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 root beer floats. I loved it. I fucking cried like a baby watching this movie.
All right, Rebecca, it's up to you. It's on you.
It's okay.
Man.
It's okay.
Let me tell you something. I did not know Justin Timberlake could act this good. I
like what I'm hearing.
Not know this. Yes, this movie has a lot of tropes. Have you guys ever seen the movie Gifted with Chris Evans?
I have. Love that movie.
Okay.
Love that movie.
This movie gave me very Gifted vibes. It's a very similar story. Chris Evans is the uncle and he's got the little girl who's like in his care and, and he comes to love her and then he wants to fight for her and there's different circumstances, different situations, but there's also a teacher and they get it on and all that. So yes, have we seen some version of this movie before? We have. What I think, and I'm going to agree 100% with you, Dan, that Ryder Allen, the little boy who plays Sam, just kills it in this movie. He kills it. This is a little boy who's 8 years old, growing up in Louisiana, wherever part they are in of Louisiana. This is not exactly the woke part of the state. So they are just like, this boy he wears a beret in his hair. He likes to dress like a princess. He likes to do things that are traditionally, quote unquote, girl things to do. And the movie is not here to ram some kind of, agenda, quote unquote, down your throat here, because the kid isn't like, I'm gay and I'm proud. That's not who this kid is. This kid is just, but I just like to do these things.
Totally.
But that's just what I like to do. Like, I like to play with dolls. This is what I like. And the fact that he's just so accepting of himself at such a young age, at 8 years old, at 8 years old, when I wanted to watch Transformers and my mom told me Transformers are not for girls, I didn't watch Transformers for another 10 years. Like, I was not that kid to be like, but I like them. Like, this kid is being told at every turn by most people that he's around that he is, they even call him the F word. I don't like that word. I will not use it, but you know what I mean. They call him the F word. They say he's a fairy. The whole nine, right? But this kid is just so comfortable in his own skin. And
completely unfazed.
Completely, but it's just what I like to do. And are we in spoilers?
Oh yeah, go for it.
When he gets that certificate at the end that he's in the Flying Princess Club,
Jesus Christ,
the tears were rolling down my cheeks, and I'm like, and he just wanted to be in the club, and now he's in the club, and I'm just like, the rolling fat tears rolling down my cheeks because it was such a beautiful end to the movie. I absolutely loved it. I'm going to go 4 out of 5 root beer floats. What a great thing to pick. Root beer floats are heaven in a cup, as this kid said. So
this is true. And the kid had lines, right? For everything. He had great comebacks for everything.
God. So Justin Timberlake's on parole, right? So he's got to go to his parole officer. And when that lady comes up to him in the store and she's like, you got no business raising the kid. And he's like, he goes to see that man every week and he's doing good. So mind your ass. I was
mind your ass.
He's so sassy. And then when they go outside and he's like, you think I'm doing good? And he's like, absolutely.
Oh my God.
I was just like, tears again. It was just, oh my God. What a great... It is tropey, but I love it. It worked for me too. I thought it was just such a beautiful message with this kid being as unique as he is and the environment he was growing up in. You have to watch this one. This one I think is worth it. It's totally. And also while you're at it, watch Gifted with Chris Evans because that's a really sweet movie too.
Well, there you go. Yeah. By the way, you're going to hear like gardeners and shit in the background. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is, man. It's a podcast.
Life,
what can
dude.
I say? That's how life works sometimes. That's how it is. But
I'll make it fast.
I just want to say one thing real quick is that I wanted to give, even though I really love Juno Temple, particularly from Ted Lasso, I think she's just sort of won me over. She did a great job too. I think she might have been a little bit over the top. Might have fell into that tropey side of things.
She was the mom.
She was the mom,
Yeah.
yeah. But she just contributed to the story. And then, of course, and I always forget this fucking guy's name. What the hell's his name? He's the guy that's in Dean Winters. Sorry, Dean Winters is the guy I'm talking about. Does he ever play a different character?
No.
Or is it always just
He's
that?
always great in the insurance commercials.
Yeah, they're like, okay, let's find a guy that looks like he likes to fight and we'll call you an F word or something like that. Let's get him. And it's always that guy. I'm sure he's great, but he definitely does a thing, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Ever since Oz, yeah.
What'd you think, Steve?
So, I think I'll say this about this movie. It's tropey, which Dan knows tropes are a thing that's just like, we've seen. And I like Justin Timberlake though. Dan also knows I'm a Justin Timberlake fan, oddly enough.
I do.
Yeah, I do like Justin of the Lake of Timber. When I started watching this movie, I obviously knew, okay, number one, Steve, you are going to be able to write this movie stopping now. You'll be able to write everything that happens in this movie till the end. I didn't see Sister Girl coming in. I wouldn't have written that. But
by the way, does she not look like Alicia Keys?
Yes, she does.
She smells like her.
I definitely got the Alicia Keys vibe.
She could be her cousin. Like that's
Yeah.
She exactly.
There you go. She's related to the Keys.
I thought that this movie I think it's perfectly fine. Like if someone was like, hey, what's a good movie for me and my girl to watch? I'd be like, perfectly. That's a good. And here's the thing, this movie would be low if it wasn't for Ryder.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for his or they, I'm not sure how, I don't know. But if it wasn't for this wonderful kid's performance, it would be fairly low. They saved the movie. Saves the movie single-handedly for me. I'm like, this kid is a star.
To kind of comment on what you were just saying right now, I did watch like an interview between the two of them on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that Ryder Allen was just simply acting his ass off.
Oh, so it's not
He's
one of
a
those
boy.
things where okay.
I would assume that he relates as a boy. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Or identifies as a boy.
He is a freaking star. Justin Timberlake did fine. He did as much as like a person who puts on a play at high school will do. A decent job. But the kid, I said he saved the movie for me. Everyone else was good. Juno is always good. But that kid and the grandma, I love her in everything she does. Every time I see her,
Great.
I love her. I'm like, oh.
Poor Miss Vivian.
I love her. And I thought that, oddly enough, another person that I said that's an accurate portrayal is the janitor manager. Yep, that's him. The principal. I knew that principal. I remember that principal who will be like, hey, Steve, I've noticed you haven't been, interacting with people. Is everything okay? I was like, oh, I know that guy. I remember him. So he did I think the whole story was full of people doing a perfectly fine job until you get to Ryder. And he was just like, hey, I decided to put on a clinic today. You guys want to come?
Yeah.
Cool. And he just puts on an acting clinic.
Kid's like, you want to keep up? We got a movie to do.
Good luck. Like, even when he's like, there's one part where they're at the table and Justin Timberlake does a line saying, you're calling me a liar? And he said, yes, sir, I am.
Yes.
I said, he delivered that line better. Like, it was a quick throw-off line. And I said, he's a natural. The kid's just a natural. I pray that he doesn't stay in show business. I hope this is the only movie he ever does. I hope he has a normal life and lives a happy-go-lucky existence, because kid stars tend not to do too well. That being said, I will not relinquish my ability to see him in said future movies if he does choose to act. But he is an adorable kid. I will say this is a middle of the road if you've seen this before, but it is worth watching to see Ryder get his acting on and just see how good this kid is and see how much he chews scenery and see how natural he plays this character that apparently isn't even really him.
This kid is 8 years old.
He's
Keep that in
amazing.
mind. 8 years old. And I think he's doing
amazing.
shit the level of Jacob Tremblay. Myself. Just from
100%.
right? Just from this movie alone.
100%.
Hey, you know what? Jacob had to start somewhere, and I have not seen this kid in anything else. But if he keeps doing what he did in this movie, he is right there with it.
Yes, he's on his way, but he did not give me the feels of a dying kid yet.
Well, he wasn't a dying kid in the movie, Steve.
I understand, but
Jesus Christ.
Christ.
You're a fucking tough customer, Steve. I swear to God.
I can't even look at that kid anymore. I can't even look at that kid anymore. Because I don't think that was a good scene. I don't think anyone should see that scene. Anyway.
Well, again, that's a case of a kid acting his ass off. You know?
Oh my God.
I'm kind of with you sometimes because, we don't want to end up with more Shias in the world.
Yeah, we don't. Let him go to school. Now that he's done this thing, go.
Some of these kids do make it out. And with talent like that, I just cannot wait to see more from Ryder Allen. I totally respect what you're saying, but this kid is just
good,
amazing. And like Rebecca says, I don't think that this movie set out with an agenda, but I think that, and I'm being real about this, I think that if you're a parent or a brother or a sister or anyone that's related to a child that, and I'm using this word on purpose, but that is, quote unquote different, but is totally comfortable in their own skin. This is a great movie to watch because it's not like opening up a textbook and doing A, B, and C to make this happen through life. But the way that Palmer handled this, he came from prison and he just was not used to seeing this at all, but he let the love of this child affect him and change him for the better, and if that's the kind of message that this movie gives afterwards, like, again, I can't get away from that line of like, don't you know what that means that you're a boy and these are girls and this is what they do? He's like, I can be the first. I think that's fucking positive. And in a world that we live in now where there's just so much judgment and hatred and everything, and and we're just in a new time. Like we have to push forward. And I think that's why this movie touched me so much, because it was such an honest representation of what a kid that just wants to be comfortable in his own skin is, and is still the most wonderful person ever. The character of Sam was probably the best thing I've seen this year. I got to be honest with you, but I am not lying at all when I say I was a fucking mess watching this movie. At the end of the movie, I was trying to talk to Gail about this movie, who was hysterical because she cries at everything. But in this case, she had a really good reason to cry. But I'm talking to her like this, and I stepped away for a second, and I was like, I told her, I come back in, I'm really glad that I'm not talking about this movie today because, when Sam started to, and I just started to I was getting that thing in my.
That's beautiful though,
bro.
dude.
I could not control it,
man.
and I was fucked up a little bit for probably a good half an hour, but in a good way. This movie really touched me, and like I said, I don't think Justin Timberlake is a fantastic actor. I think he's super talented.
He's like high school acting.
No, I would disagree with you there. I think he's way more talented. That's just my opinion, but I think he's better than that, and I don't think that we've seen his best work yet either as an actor, but. This is a step in the right direction. And the way that he kind of duped me into thinking that he was just sort of going to be the grunty guy that, he wasn't going to be the dick in the box guy, but he was going to be the grunty guy that just mutters his words. And I get it. I know you're that guy. You're reserved, whatever. The way that he became a father figure to this kid fucking just warmed and broke my heart at the same time.
That's good, man. I'm glad. My thing is, I could see how this would work for sure. I can see how this does work. No question. They hit all the dots. You hit all the dots and again, Ryder, man, listen, he's a star. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of him. I would probably rate this movie.
You be careful now, Hudson.
I know you don't. Hey, look, you did me in and of itself, Jim.
I'm totally kidding with you. I left you hanging. I know I left you hanging on that one. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't. Actually, you did like it. You gave it your rating. I was like, huh.
It had good qualities.
But you go high.
I'm always rating high.
I know.
I'm Dan fucking Ramirez. I go high. All right.
I hate this movie. I'm going to give it a 5 out of, I'm like, oh, I guess.
This is not the worst movie I've ever seen. I actually gave it a 6. I don't like hurting feelings. Okay.
I would honestly say you should watch this movie if you are in the mood to just feel good.
Or cry your fucking eyes out.
I think that's you.
Maybe, but it doesn't happen all the time,
somewhere.
dude. That's the thing. It just doesn't happen.
I know, but
I'm
it's
not
something
a crier
about this
at movies.
film that connected to you.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it was, again, I trip out on father shit, so maybe that had something to do with it.
There we go.
Weeping like a fucking baby. I'm not kidding.
Which is good. And the thing is, for me, I think the most emotional part that I could see myself having imagined a choke in the throat was the end when he opened the letter. I'd be like, oh, this is probably where Dan cried.
Oh, that just let the waterworks go. I was like I told
thing.
you, I already had the lump, but when he pulled that, you know what? I ain't gonna do it right now. You almost got me again.
Yeah. It's an emotional part, and I think what I do like is, like I said, it if you want to walk away from a movie, because sometimes movies don't have to be great. Sometimes movies can just make you feel good before work or make you feel good after work. This is that movie. You're going to walk away being like, if you walked away and called me and said, I am mad that I watched that movie, I don't know if I'd want to be around you. Because I'm just like, oh, you just don't like feeling good. You're one of those people that's like, I saw this and that bull crap with her suit in the classroom. I'm like, okay, we don't need to be friends. There is nothing. Now, if you are
killing
a person,
friendships over it.
Seriously, like if you're just like, I did not like it and it made me upset, I'd be like, why? I'd be like, why did it make you upset exactly? Maybe there's something about you I don't know. This is perfectly down the road feel good. Good old fashioned feel good. So if you want to feel good fashion, good old great limber of the Timberlake situations, dude. Now, if he would have broken into Suit and Tie, I would have given it a 5 out of 5. If like during the movie he would just start singing Suit and Tie, I'd have been like, well, this is my favorite movie of all time. Want to watch it again? If you sing Bye Bye Bye, it's on. So I will give it a strong 3 out of 5 gorgeous women in suit and mustaches.
Oh,
that's
man.
a great one.
You know what? I'm sorry. If I may, she was bad. She was gorgeous. I wouldn't say bad though. She was just okay. Run of the mill pretty. That's all right. This movie was just all right with you.
I need some flavor. I need something like, where's the scar?
Perfectly. What'd you say? Where's the scar?
Yeah.
Where's the bullet wound at?
Yeah. Give me something like, give me something. I don't want that just like, she's just run of the mill, like, oh, pretty.
You can come on over this way then. She can come on over this way. But hey, one more thing that I failed to mention, Fisher Stevens directed this.
I know! Fisher Stevens! Like, that was so shocked to see that.
It was a bit of a surprise for me too. And in fact, I didn't really know that he was such a good director. You know, I mean, again, that's debatable if you like this movie, but I had no idea that he was even doing that. So that was just a little bit of icing on the cake for me. I've already given my heart about this movie. So
that dude has looked the same for 104
he does.
years.
I was just looking at a picture of him right now. He does look good for his age.
Here's what I will say. I think I do believe I wouldn't be surprised if Justin concentrates on film from now on. I think that's where he wants to, because every musician wants to be an actor and every actor wants to be a musician.
Right.
Yeah, and we talked about that thing too, Steve, when we were talking about the Bee Gees documentary, where it's like, you know, you go so far and sometimes you drop. I would not say that he's dropped off at all, but he has gotten a little more stagnant than
absolutely. Like Man of the Woods wasn't great.
No. So now it's time to venture off and do this. And I see him getting I see him only getting better. I think he's going to be great, man.
Totally. Again, he's I think I see him doing a lot more films. I would like to see what I really would like to see is more movies like this, in this vein, where people are not the run of the mill stars like this kid and someone being different. We need more people being different movies. Like even like Powder. Powder was, you know, you look back on that, I'm like, you know what? That was a good
a million years ago. Powder.
That was a million years ago, but even then people were tinkering with the idea of, I have a weird kid in my class. Maybe it's more than just he's weird. Maybe there's more, because when I think back a lot of my school, there's a few classmates I look back and be like, oh no, we were mean for no reason. Like we just decided this kid is different. And now they actually have support for that. Yeah. Where, I'm different, but daggone it, I love being different, you know? So it's a beautiful thing. Again, I hope more movies like this come out.
And lastly, what I wanted to say is that, you know, we talked about Ryder and how fantastic he is and where Justin is in his acting, at least in our opinion. But I would have to say that Ryder elevated him. And the combination, like their chemistry together, is what really made this movie fun, because it just amplified Justin Timberlake's character as Palmer. But that's the magic of the movie, their connection and just their back and forth and the love that you see building up. It was wonderful. I really cannot recommend this movie enough. Before we go, I just want to tell you that, like, if you're just listening to my opinion on this one, please check this movie out. Make your own decision, but at least give it the time.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, before we leave, I think wonderful. First of all, thank you, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a great discussion we had.
Love talking to you, Rebecca.
I always love talking to you guys. Dan, it's almost a year now since C2E2, where we went to Chicago and I finally got to meet you in person. And
such a wonderful weekend.
What an amazing weekend. One of the best weekends of my life, and that's not an exaggeration.
No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I had a blast that weekend. And it was so wonderful to meet with you and like talk to you face to face and connect with you. And I don't know. Steve, I've yet to meet you in person, but I'm sure that we will,
absolutely,
after the apocalypse, we'll meet each other. And, I don't know. I count you guys as like some of my closest friends. And
likewise.
Thank you. Likewise.
Truly enjoy speaking. I enjoy talking to you no matter what, but this was great.
This was fan. And now before we let you go, I would like you to tell every single person how many podcasts you do and where they can find you.
It's not that many. You guys always act like I do 800 podcasts.
Compared to us, we're like, goodness gracious.
Whatever. You can mostly hear me regularly on Picardcast, which is a Star Trek podcast I do with my good friend Brooke. It started out as a review show for Picard, the Picard series on CBS All Access. And in the interim, we are still putting out content. We are putting out episodes that we call personal logs. We have a guest on. They pick a Star Trek episode or a Star Trek movie, and we review it with them. And have really great conversations with people about all kinds of stuff. Dan was a previous guest on an episode.
I was.
Weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
Okay,
I was agreeing with you.
I thought you were asking me. I thought you said
no.
Was.
And a matter of fact, it was two. It was a part 1 and a part 2.
It was a part 1, part 2. We'd love to have you back, Dan. And Steve,
I would love to come back.
For that matter, if you guys have a Star Trek episode individually, even that you'd like to talk about, I will happily send you our sign-up sheet, and you'll be more than welcome.
Send it.
I will. Because, I feel like our show, we try to be very inclusive. Like, we have guests that are Trek fans, that are like heavy on the Trek, and they know like the name of the guy who put the cup in the corner. And like
Neil Thollanders of the world.
Yes, Neil. Neil knows everything about Star Trek. He's just, when I'm not sure, I ask Neil. Like, I think I'm pretty good at Trek knowledge, but when I'm not sure, I message him, hey, Neil, what about this thing? What do you think? Yes, I'd be happy to have you guys on. And again, we try to keep our show inclusive. Even if you're a casual Trek fan, we don't try to pull out like, we never try to like actually our guests like be like, well, actually that came out in the year 1985. Like we definitely don't want to be those people, because I have always felt that Trek should be inclusive. Yes. Because Star Trek started out as an inclusive show, and it still is inclusive. So anyway, Picardcast you can mostly hear me on, and then I do a couple other shows that are sort of like I guess on hiatus right now, but Animated Batcast, which is a Batman show, and Number One Comic Books, which is surprisingly a comic book show. But life happens. We don't always get to record as often as we like, but and then also She-Ra and the Podcast of Power. That's one that we're trying to get back on track.
Okay, Rebecca, you do a lot of podcasts.
Well, the only one I'm doing regularly is Picardcast. That's the only one I'm doing regularly. The other ones, as I said, we are not as recording as often as we would like to record. So, and I was just on an episode of Pop Culture Leftovers. So if you listen to that show, you can hear me yammering on about all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I finally get to listen. I wanted to wait because I know you were talking about what I think you talked about the little things, right?
Yes.
So I waited. Now I'm going to listen.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
It's the only thing that was like what's the word? That was like a crossover. Everything else was just for you guys.
She's also a
That
huge
is-
fan of Psycho Goreman, ladies and gentlemen. So that's just one more.
Oh my God, Psycho Goreman! What that movie? I don't know. That movie just pure joy. And I know it sounds silly to say that about that movie, but that movie gave me belly laughs.
I get it, 100%.
Belly
It's the cheesiest,
laughs.
dumbest thing ever, and it's one of my most favorite things I saw
Loved
this year.
it.
By the way,
Uh-huh.
I want to share with you. I was talking to Brian yesterday. We were texting, and he told me that he'd picked up the soundtrack, right?
Right.
The vinyl soundtrack.
Yeah.
And if you guys are interested, I could put the link up because I can't tell you where it is right now. I think it's like Mondo Records.
I would enjoy that very much.
This fucking I don't even have a turntable right now. I bought this. It is the sickest vinyl. It's like a light blue vinyl with like a pink blood splatter.
Nice.
And all the artwork. Because you know how like the old school albums when you open up and you have like the full on mural on the inside?
Yeah.
It's got all that shit. So
Oh my God. I pre-ordered, I put this on Twitter and Steve was like, ma'am. I said
I didn't even know it existed.
I pre-ordered the Blu-ray, the physical copy.
the Hunky Boys version?
The Hunky Boys edition.
Oh, I'm thinking about it.
A limited edition. So if you want it, you might want to get on that, sir.
They're
have
also
no idea.
making for you collectors out there. They're also making Psycho Goreman action figures.
I'm gonna get figures. I don't collect figures per se, but I want a figure from this movie. This movie just I don't know. I just loved this movie. It was so ridiculous. But I respect movies that know what they are.
Yes.
I respect a movie that looks you in the eye and goes, you know what this is exactly. And we know what this is.
Yep.
So just sit back and enjoy it because it's
Yep.
ridiculous and we all know it.
It was, and here's the thing is, I told Dan my dream is that he takes over the director takes over the Hatchet franchise. That's my dream.
Oh, okay.
I think he would destroy Hatchet because he knows, he's like, oh, we know what that is.
Mhm.
Like both him and Adam Green know what they're doing. And I mean, because what he did was I still don't know how he did the mouth effect. I actually pushed pause. Where ever so often I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it. He does something when he beats somebody on Psycho Goreman.
Mhm, mhm.
And I don't know how they did that effect. Because I paused it. I'm like, man, it looks like his mouth for real.
Well,
Like,
you
how
know,
they do that?
the director, if you look at his IMDb page, he mostly, up until starting directing, was doing creature effects.
Yeah, I think he had
And-
full on, like, I think he was the one that
Excuse
did all the effects for this movie.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
So impressive.
yeah,
I'm
Steve
just-
Kostansky, by the way.
I'm just saying that when I was I was sold from very early on, but I was really sold with the whole I don't care about hunky boys, or do I? I fell out of my chair. That movie was just, I don't know. I could watch it again right now. I'm pure joy.
I've already seen it
Just-
3 times.
Oh, you lucky guy, you. I'm going to watch it again. I just loved it so much.
And see, and the thing about it, in the 80s, there would be a theme song to this movie, and Psycho Goreman would be in the MTV video.
Oh, 100%.
He would have made an appearance
Oh, yeah.
in the video. And so I'm like, what a bummer. When MTV was MTV, there would be a song from this movie, and Psycho Goreman would be in the video. No question. And it sucks that we can't see that. Well, maybe we will. Who knows?
I'll tell you this. Hey, if you have Apple TV, I purchased the movie because I wanted to support them. But if you have Apple TV, you can watch Psycho Goreman for free right now on Apple TV Plus.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that. I think I probably still would have bought the movie. Again, I wanted to support them. But
Yeah,
you can
I
watch
was
it there.
gonna buy that movie anyway. I had to have the Hunky Boys edition. I just had to.
There's
I mean-
some great extras with this one. Interviews
okay.
and like making of that.
Oh,
It shows the
nice.
making of the fight at the end, and then
Cool.
interviews with the cast. There's commentary, all of that. So check it out. And then I will say this lastly: watch this movie, particularly this weekend, maybe sometime early next week. And if it interests you, all I'll say is tune in for the next episode of Heroes of Noise.
Ooh,
That's
a
all I'm gonna say.
teaser.
Well, Steve, I guess that's the end of another show. We had the lovely Rebecca on. I think this was it went swimmingly, wouldn't you say?
It went swimmingly. People, have a wonderful week. I had a great time. Becca, love you. Dan,
love
love
you
you.
guys.
The next
Love
voice
you too,
you're going to
brother.
be hearing is Dan the Man's signing off, and Becca the Queen. I'm out of here. Peace.
For Rebecca, a true hero of noise, for Steve Hudson, a hero of noise. My name is Dan Ramirez. I'm going to make it short and sweet. You guys have a great week, and of course, be good to yourselves, be good to the people around you. Peace.